Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll fight you in your backyard. Like a I'll beat you in your book. You're a book.
I want to unify. Is he up for the challenge? Like I said, I declare war. You know, this is not a battle, this is war because I was born in this.
Why am I sitting there like a spare dick away? While you are sitting in your mum's spare rooms, just tickling your bollocks.
Come see me, baby. No more hiding, no more ducking, no more dodging, no more excuses. Let's make the fight happen. Let's see who's the best. I know I'm the best. Are you up for the test?
I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview. What are you talking about? You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Negative. I'm good. I beat Polly. I left with his belt and his girl.
Fucking was too fast. But it wasn't so much about it, was just that he was so fucking fast. Fast.
Amazingly fast.
Fucking amazingly fast. I was like, I thought Freddie was in there fucking hitting me too. So
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, obviously podcast form, iTunes, Spotify, radio, iTunes, all that fun stuff. I'm Matt, the hipster hunter, and we're going to be talking all things boxing today, previewing the upcoming weekend of fighting, reviewing this last weekend of fighting in boxing, which wasn't that notable, but there were some decent prospects we can talk about. And plus the news of the day. There's not a lot, but we're here with our daily show. And actually, it's been a while since we've, Avengers assembled here. All of us are together, full panel show. And because of that, we're going to go to Fu Gotti first. Fu, how are you, man?
Oh, man. You went to me first.
I know.
No, I'm doing good. Rob's so salty right now.
Already salty, man.
No, everything's been good. Long weekend, new iPhone launch, and work's been chaotic. So I didn't get to catch a lot of boxing just yet, but I did go back and watch a few other fights. I guess we'll talk about later. And yeah, excited to be here with you guys.
That
seems to be wild already. So
there isn't any boxing. There hasn't been any. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
I mean, there was some. I mean, in the U.S. I mean, there wasn't. It was on ITV, obviously.
Where's that? In the what?
There was some boxing, but there wasn't any on ITV, of course. But
no, obviously. It's all right, Heyman World. Don't worry. I like the one that's coming up. Don't worry. But yeah.
Oh, Rob just up and out. Of course, Robbie Hearn, second cousin,
Robbie
twice
Hearn,
removed of Sir Eddie. Rob, the Notorious. How are you doing?
Yeah. I was placed in the middle of the screen, but apparently third on the intro. Food's coughing and shit down the mic. This is what I'm talking about.
Hey, hold on. Rob, we talked about this. I don't know if it was on air when we talked about this, but I know we talked about it either like right after the show or on the show. We're like, hey, Monday when Food comes back, it's going to be amateur hour because he hasn't done a show in weeks.
I didn't mute myself, huh?
No, we got the cough.
Sorry, bro.
Everyone in America is ill, it seems. Poor Doomy sniffing down the mic still. Yeah. Like Matt said, not a bunch of topics, but there's some little bits in Kurt. What's it? Sorry about the name.
Kurt Amoff?
Yeah. In his podcast with Tim Smith. There's
Boxing Esquire podcast. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Boxing Esquire.
I won't talk about that on this show because I haven't really watched it yet. I haven't seen it yet. I think you've seen it, or you've not seen it, but you've listened to it.
Yeah.
I
most of it. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but there's a few little bits in there.
So we're probably gonna break down that, maybe the long-term PBC stuff that was divulged in that podcast on tomorrow's show for sure. But today, I mean, obviously we have the marquee fight coming up this weekend, and honestly, it's felt like we haven't had a big fight in a while, right? Am I imagining that? Like, it feels like we've had a couple weeks of like nothing going on really. You know, some fights obviously because it's boxing in the new age. So we had Joseph Diaz on Facebook Watch. We had a PBC on FS1 card. So we had fights this weekend, but it felt like again a dead weekend in the sport. Of course, but
yeah, just not real big names,
Yeah.
I guess. But no, I mean, what I've seen of the FS1 card, there was some good fights, good knockouts. Again, like I say, Quill and Angulo, it's not necessarily, it's a bit of a guys on the way out kind of fight, but sometimes those fights are pretty fun, and that one sort of was. So, and Delorme and who did Delorme fight? And my brain's gone. But no, another fun fight. So
yeah, we're gonna talk about those fights after we talk about the fights coming up this weekend. Because let's be honest, Spence Porter's this Saturday, and that's the biggest fight we've had in some time, maybe since probably Pacquiao Thurman in July, and it feels like it feels like a big fight for us. I am still skeptical of how big it is for the casual audience yet, because I don't see the push that like Spence Mikey got. I don't see the same level of push. Maybe Fu, who was in Dallas, who lives in Dallas when that fight went down, maybe he can talk about respective of being in the U.S. market, in the media market. What have you seen in terms of media push for Spence Porter?
There hasn't been anything. Not like when it was Spence Mikey. I don't know why. Because it's a better fight, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But, and, the dance partner matters. Sean Porter's maybe not, the biggest. We know he's not the biggest star.
No.
Lots of people don't like watching him fight too much. But I figure with Spence, they would push a little bit more with, him getting on the Dallas. Like, I think he was at a Cowboys game recently.
Like they've done
couple
stuff,
other things.
yeah.
So
they've done stuff. It's not like they haven't promoted it. I think they promoted it well. But respective to Spence Garcia, it feels like it's not getting the same level of push or the same level of marketing. Maybe it's because, look, they thought, hey, Spence Mikey, we have the Mexican-American demographic coming into it. Dallas Cowboy Stadium, a bigger stadium, a bigger arena. So automatically they're planning it to be bigger. So maybe they just push more dollars behind it, thinking behind the scenes, that's the bigger fight, which I can understand. Like, in terms of pure numbers, Mikey is the bigger draw than Porter. That is, I think, pretty factual to say at this point in time. It's unfortunate that the lesser fight is the more marketable fight that got the bigger push, but it just seems like that's the case right here. Now, to that point, pay-per-view buys. Any prediction on buy rates before we head into the actual fight and the X's and O's of this matchup?
For me, I mean,
and Rob, include UK viewership buys. What do you think it could do?
Oh, 0 buys because it's for free.
You know what I meant.
I think it'll be just hardcores that are going to maybe stay up for this. This isn't sort of a casual thing. There's maybe, I don't know, some casuals that will maybe have watched the Calbrook fight with Spence, but I don't think they're staying up till, and that was it, LA, right? So that's going to be 4 a.m. over here, easy, 4 or 5 a.m. Before they're fighting. So I can't see, it's just going to be the hardcore base. But regarding...
But about respective to like maybe other big U.S. fights this year, Canelo Jacobs, Pacquiao Thurman, even Spence Garcia in a way, like what...
Again, I think this will be probably on the lower end of all that, which is, again, it's a shame. Like you say, Mikey and Spence seem to get a lot of push. But just a little reference to the Tim Smith thing. He said the episode of Fight Camp, I think it averaged viewership was like 600 and
something like that, yeah,
50 or 675 or something like that, 1,000 views, which is
good,
very good. So, but it's just, what does that translate to? Does that make people go and buy it? And unfortunately, I don't think Porter's that guy, which is a shame. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy, but for some reason, he just doesn't seem to be, a big sort of draw. I'm sure it'll pick up, but I keep seeing things now, maybe because it's on my feed and it's that side of things. I don't know, but this isn't selling very well as far as tickets as well. But I know it's different here because they go on sale, and like quite often it's we get the pre-sale, and that goes usually pretty well, and the venues tend to sell out before people turn up on the day in America and get walk-ups, and so I don't know. I expect it'll do okay in the end, but I think it's just different markets how we do it and you guys seem to do it, because from what I can tell, a lot of people over there wait until prices drop, or they shift prices and even walk up on the day, whereas here it's usually, especially like I guess Matchroom shows, they seem to sell out or get very close to a sellout before the nights arrive. But pay-per-view buys, I think, I don't know, it's hard to just quantify, like I say, those good numbers about the fight camp, and then
all good numbers. Yeah,
those guys were on the NFL
pre-game shows and stuff like that of that nature. Yes,
the NFL on Sunday or whatever you call it. I don't know. Obviously, we don't really get that. I mean, Sky pick up NFL games, but we've got our own little in studio thing where they talk, and then it cuts to the live feed of whoever's playing that game. But just how much that converts into actual buys. Because for me, if it was £75 every time, and we were having as many pay-per-views as you guys seem to be getting at the moment, I'd really be cherry picking what I'm buying personally on a purely monetary basis.
But to that point, right? Cherry picking buys, right? We've talked about that before, sort of figuring out or theorizing which pay-per-view is going to be the bomb, because one of them has to be the bomb, right? Crawford Khan bombed. That was to be expected. Yeah. But I think to some degree we expected Spence Garcia to bomb. And to be honest, it's still the most successful pay-per-view they've done to date, I want to say. I might be wrong on that. Maybe Pacquiao Thurman did better than it. But I want to say, at least initial reporting, Spence Garcia did better than Pacquiao Broner, did better than Wilder Fury. And again, I think it did better than even Pacquiao Thurman. So
Pacquiao Broner was Showtime, though, right?
Yes, it was. Good distinction there, at least. And also, Wilder Fury was Showtime as well. There's a difference in, I think, promotion and level of attention that these networks are grabbing. But besides that point, Spence Garcia, the one that I think most of us expected to bomb, did the best. So I feel like we're in that same situation here where maybe we are mispredicting it here, and we all thinking it's lower than it is, and Spence is a star that we aren't expecting. It's possible, again, because we thought Spence Garcia was going to bomb, and it did gangbuster numbers, and I think we all expect Spence Porter to do pedestrian numbers for PBC pay-per-views. Again, 250, probably 300,000 is the respectable number that it could hit, and I think we can probably expect it to hit. But if it does above 350, is that really a surprise? I don't think it is, because maybe Spence is just that guy that is now trending in that way, at least in the sporting world.
I'm not sure. It's hard because we had sort of Mexican-American involved with Spence the first time, and until I don't know if it's possible, you can't break down those numbers, like how many of those were Mexican-American, like sort of maybe watching because of Mikey, how many are there watching because of Spence. So, but I just don't think Porter's that guy that's going to tip this too high. Personally, the ceiling for me is going to be like 275, but I've kind of said from the start like 2,000 to 250,000 buys, maybe around the 275. But I don't know. I think that's sort of a fairly decent number anyway, to be honest. I just don't think this is going to do the Spence Mikey Garcia numbers, because I think there was another whole demographic coming with that event.
Quickly, people are seeming to disagree with me on the numbers on the pay-per-view, saying that Manny versus Thurman did 500K. Look, the only source that has that is Boxing News 24. I don't count that as a notable source, so please find a better source for me. Secondly, Manny versus Broner did around 400,000. Again, so did Spence Garcia. So I don't know what the gripe is here, people, honestly. You're about to have a heart attack there.
You can't win or lose, you know?
I'm literally giving props to Spence, and PBC fanboys are wrong with me.
If you're not super stoked about the numbers that PBC does, you're a hater. if you congratulate a pay-per-view doing better than you thought it would, you're also a hater. I don't understand it. But I think like 275 to like 325 is probably where this will land. I think that's pretty consistent. That number of people almost buy every pay-per-view, especially like, on the PPC side. Like it seems like every pay-per-view does somewhere in there, no matter kind of who you put in that role. And I just don't think Porter's the guy to lift it to that like 400,000 range, like Rob said. I don't know if it's personality or what, but he doesn't bring a crowd, So Spence has got it. I just hope that after this we get all the fights we want with Spence, so we can see like if he truly is, that star. Like, I don't even know that a Spence Crawford would do as much as a Spence Mikey. Like it would, but Crawford's not really that guy either that's selling fights. People want to see it, but there's just something about when you throw, like Rob made a great point. The Mexican American crowd is going to buy those pay-per-views. They're going to get to the fight. They're very passionate about it. And like Crawford fans aren't super passionate about buying his fights. He's done 2 pay-per-views. They both flopped. So, as great a boxer as he is, he doesn't have the ardent fandom that some of these other guys have,
Agreed. It is going to be curious to see if this, let's say, does over numbers that are predicted for it, what the reaction is to that. And if it does below that, obviously, I think the reaction to it is going to be harsh because I think there has been a lack of promotion respective to other PBC fights when this fight is legitimately one of the best fights that's made this year. So now let's talk about the fight itself because we talked about how big it is in the business of it. Let's talk about the X's and O's and what's going to happen actually in the ring. Spence Porter, I think, has the potential to be a Fight of the Year candidate, B, one of the better title fights and sort of inside fights we've seen in some time. Both guys are, traditionally speaking, inside fighters, inside volume combination punchers as well. I'm just insanely curious about the dynamic of this matchup. We did see Spence with Mikey actually switch it up and go on the back foot and be more of a defensive boxer and show that level to his game. I am curious if he does that with Porter because Porter is obviously going to press him, in my opinion. He's the smaller guy with the smaller reach. He has to get on the inside. He has to bully Spence in some way. And I think Spence is going to be pushed on the back foot, have to box more, and it's probably going to win a points decision in a fun back-and-forth affair. Potentially, maybe both guys get hurt or at least stunned in this fight. But I see a competitive fight throughout. It may end up being like an 8-4 decision for Spence, but one of those 8-4 decisions that is ultra competitive throughout and has us questioning certain rounds. We might have even a very small vocal contingent saying Porter won, just like Porter versus Thurman or like Thurman versus Garcia, right? There was a vocal minority that was yelling that the B side won the decision. I expect that to happen here as well just because of the dynamic and how both guys are really going to mesh well on the inside, and it's going to be a volume fest, really. I mean, I think both guys are going to probably, maybe not break CompuBox records, because welterweight has some crazy CompuBox records, but they might get to like top 15 like punch counts in welterweight history. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. Rob, your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily agree that Spence is like volume kind of guy. I think he's accurate. So what he throws is always seems to mean something, but I don't think he's not Porter volume anyway. I think
I agree he's not Porter volume, but he's definitely throws at volume compared to the average of the division. He throws above average.
Yeah, I mean against Mikey, he was throwing crazy amounts of punches per round, but yeah, that was a different look Spence in a way. Wasn't that kind of just plodding forward, like hurting you, good body punch. He really, I know he said he wanted to show that he could outbox, but I don't know. He just didn't knock him out, I guess. But no, I think Porter's going to make this kind of interesting. But ultimately, I think Spence, out of the two, has the ability to hurt more than Porter can. I don't think we'll see Spence getting hurt from Porter. I don't think Porter's quite got that power. I think his volume is what gets the respect, maybe over the power. But I'm expecting Spence to come away with it, but I think it'll be a hard fought decision to get it. I don't think Porter's getting stopped either. So I expect Spence to not shade it. I think he might win fairly handily, but yeah, like you say, maybe like an 8-4 or something like that, but competitive and being made to work every step of the way, I think.
Phil?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I would say that if Spence does stop Porter, it's gonna tell a lot. Like we've discussed this before about, none of us really thought, he'd never had to do much lateral movement. He's like you said in the start, he's never had to fight off his back foot. He's definitely going to have to do a lot of that against Porter. He had to do some of the, better boxing against Mikey. And I think he did that intentionally just to show people that he could, because I think boxers take everything you say to heart, and they're like, fighters are so sensitive. But, Porter is definitely going to press him early on, I think, until he gets hurt. And I think toward the middle rounds, like, you might see Porter not be as willing to engage or trade with him. But Porter's tough as shit, man. It's going to be a bloodbath for the most part. There'll probably be like some clashing of the heads. Like, that's the thing I always worry about with Porter fights. Is like if Spence gets some kind of a cut due to, like, a head clash or something. That's the stuff that I worry about with this fight. But I think Spence will prove how good he is in this fight.
I definitely don't see a finish. I mean, look, he didn't finish Mike Garcia. I know Mikey was never finished, never had a loss in his professional career, but the guy's a lightweight, and he couldn't finish him. And so I'm not saying Spence doesn't have power. He obviously does have power. I mean, he brutalized Lamont Peterson, brutalized Kell Brook, brutalized Chris Algieri. The guy has power. That's without question. But enough power to beat certain guys, I don't know. And I think Porter's one of those guys where he lasts against anyone. And he beats a lot of these other guys in the division. He just does. He doesn't beat the very top, but he gives them all tough fights. Like Porter against Pacquiao is a tough fight for Pacquiao. Porter in a rematch against Thurman, that's a tough fight for Thurman. Porter against Crawford, that's a tough fight for Crawford. Porter is one of those guys. He can definitely give everyone issues.
Yeah, and he just makes you fight a different fight than what you're used to. Like, he smothers people. So, that's what I want to see is how he can handle that pressure. I would also like to see if he's able to eventually break Porter down. And Porter's going to leave himself more open than I think even a Mikey Garcia. Mikey's going to fight a very safe fight, whereas Porter isn't always the safest fighter, So he might get caught by something. Who knows? But I would say decision, probably like a 9-3 or 8-4. I don't know if I see Porter winning like 4 rounds against Spence. But it also is hard to judge a Porter fight at times, because you don't really know what's landing clean or not, because he smothers his work.
Guys, there's so much hating on Porter. It's sad, man. So sad.
I know.
We're going to miss him when he's gone, guys. Honestly, when he's retired, we're going to miss him. Moving on, though, the co-main event, Anthony Durrell versus David Benavidez for the WBC super middleweight title. Oh, man, poor Anthony Durrell here. The one thing that leads me to think that potentially this is a tough fight for Benavidez, Durrell's a scrappy guy. Like, naturally, he's a scrappy guy. He's tough on the inside. I think also he is savvy enough in terms of just clinching up, dirty boxing. Like, he's a tough guy to deal with. He's unorthodox in what he does, his approach. And again, a durable fighter. So maybe it's a tough fight for Benavidez, but Benavidez is by far away the better boxer at this point. The faster guy, the better athlete, heavier hitter, the bigger guy. I mean, Benavidez in almost every category is better than Anthony Durrell in 2019. I think we can all agree with that. So Benavidez clearly should win this fight via TKO, probably in the later rounds, because, again, Durrell's a tough guy. So I'm thinking maybe 8-10 in the rounds. I think it should be a TKO around that time. But Rob, your thoughts on the co-main event of Anthony Durrell and David Benavidez?
Yeah, Benavidez is a beast. And I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, but I might have to agree with Boxing Junkie, a.k.a. Heyman TBE. This could be...
What?
Somewhere in the water today. We might not see Andre Durrell again after this.
Anthony.
Anthony Durrell. So I got a bad feeling for him in this one. Benavidez looks the real deal. He's almost as good as Callum Smith. I had to claw it back.
I know you tried. You tried this. Okay.
I had to claw it back.
We didn't believe you, but you tried. Thank you.
Wow. That's a very that street is a long way away right now. There's a big ocean between those streets. But he could come over. Benavidez, he'd be more than welcome.
Hey, you know what? I mean, Smith can come over as well. He could be on a Fox pay-per-view.
He could be on a DAZN guaranteed money. But no, I really like Benavidez. I'm glad looks like he's maybe sorted out the issues that he might have had with recreational stuff, and hopefully he's training hard, and because I think he could really be, he already is a bit of a beast at this, but there's another division after this that I think he could go on, and because he's a big guy, so he could do real big things in the sport.
I think guys like Benavidez, Callum Smith included, because these are guys that even if they lose to each other, right? Like, it's not like they're gone, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, people have this like conception in their mind, like, oh, if they fight, the loser's gone. No, they're still around. I think Benavidez, Callum Smith, Caleb Plant, and then like Bivol, Betterby, Vajic, those 6 guys, if they just get in the same division together, please, to God. And have a World Boxing Super Series tournament that isn't, full of shit and doesn't have money issues with those 6 guys, and we're set. We're all happy.
Don't worry, DAZN have sorted out the money issues. It's all good.
Anyways, moving on. Foo, your
DAZN.
thoughts?
Happy birthday, DAZN, by the way. Happy birthday, DAZN.
Hold on. I'm trash. Shots at me. Hold on, guys.
It was birthday.
It was a very special birthday this last weekend, and it wasn't DAZN's. It was another birthday. If I can fucking find the goddamn soundbite, here it is. Mr. Robbie Hearns here, guys, turned 40 years old.
Go shorty, it's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip a party like it's your birthday.
The last time this was played, it was like an 8-year-old girl.
We've never been demonetized with that sound. Don't say that. It's okay. 50 loves us, okay?
Demonetization.
We love the show power. Look at
that. DAZN and Robbie Hearns sharing a birthday. Unbelievable, right?
Well, it's clearly some sort of like alien or reptilian conspiracy, right? Like, that's what I'm thinking. The reason why Rob and DAZN are on the same date of birth. That's just my thought.
I'm starting to think the Earth is flat. But yeah, no, 1 year in, 40 years in. If DAZN reached my age, they're doing pretty good.
That's
pretty
true,
soon. Rob's going to be saying Wilder's the best heavyweight. Oh my god!
I mean, I'll say this:
HBO Box could be in the chat.
HBO Boxing hit 40 years old, and look what happened to it. So moving on.
Oh my god!
Great memories.
Foo, thoughts on Durrell Benavidez?
Benavidez, it may go 6 to 8 rounds, but Benavidez is just gonna destroy Durrell. It's not gonna be pretty. And then Benavidez is gonna take over the entire weight class.
You think he beats Plant?
Man, Plant's the tougher fight, right? Out of Callum Smith or
stylistically
Plant, right?
speaking, you either think Smith or Benavidez wins, right? Like either you are a Smith guy and you think he's going to bully Benavidez and have the more powerful shots, or Benavidez will. But Plant's that guy that he might play spoiler and outbox everyone in the division. So I feel like the conversation always has to be, well, the winner of Benavidez Smith versus Plant, who is truly the king of the division. even though we all know Benavidez Plant is far more likely to happen sooner because of
Absolutely.
obvious promotional and
In-house,
network ties.
Man, I think I'm a Plant stan. I don't know why. I really like all of those guys. 168 is like a really hard weight for me because I like Callum Smith. I think he has one of the best left hooks in that weight. Like his check left hook is just so good. But Plant's movement and ability to counterpunch and he's just such a smart fighter. But then Benavidez is just like he's kind of like an unknown. He's super good, but I don't, maybe level of competition or we haven't seen him enough or his, cocaine, use, whatever. That's just, those are all going to be fun fights. I wonder, like you said, if Smith will ever get in the mix with any of those guys because of the, being on different sides of the street. But I would love to see Plant versus Benavidez. I think that's a hell of a fight right there. Agreed. But I don't think this Darrell fight's going to be anything. I mean, he should just clearly destroy Darrell.
It'd be a fun destruction, in my opinion. As long as it lasts. Next up, Mario Barrios on the card for the vacant WBA regular belt. Boo. Where's my gunshots? Fuck that belt. Fighting Baty Akhmedov, which should be a fun fight. Both guys undefeated prospects. Akhmedov was a 2016 Olympian, I believe. I forget for what country exactly. I want to say it's like Uzbekistan or Russia. One of those. And obviously, Mario Barrios has been a PBC prospect for a long time. Hopefully, he beats this guy and just moves on to actual legit competition. Because if he's that good, and I think he is that good, I think Mario Barrios is going to be a legit perennial top 10, 15 guy at 140 and 147. I want him to step up now. He's at 24-0 now. This is going to be his 25th fight. Let's move on. I'm going to quickly just run down the rest of the undercard, then get you guys' quick thoughts on the undercard. Josito Lopez versus John Molina Jr. on the card. Robert Guerrero versus Jerry Thomas. A bunch of prospects like Aman Rashidi, Leon Lawson III, Joey Spencer on the card, and that is about it. Plus a bunch of other fights that I just don't know these people. Apologies. Guys, any other thoughts on the undercard of Spence versus Porter? Guys.
Is Barrios actually fighting at 140, or
Yes.
is it going to be like the catch, like 144?
It's a 140 fight for a 140-pound air quote belt.
Okay.
Yes.
So he is like legitimately set on fighting at 140 because he's kind of been in between the two weights.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll see what he can do.
Agreed.
There's a lot of tough guys in 140 for him, I think. So, but 147 is no easier. So, both
Agreed.
those weight classes got some tough guys.
Rob, any thoughts on the undercard?
Joey Spencer's on there, right?
Yep.
I like Joey Spencer. Good prospect.
And just quick, sorry, just not to interrupt you, but the prelim portion of this undercard will be on FS1 starting at, I believe, 4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, with Robert Guerrero being the air quote main event of the prelims before he head into the pay-per-view card.
Yeah, I think Sky have got just like an hour time slot, so I think we're getting Benavidez, Darrell, and Spence Porter. So
damn, that sucks.
Oh, you don't have to worry about watching Robert Guerrero fight way past when he should be fighting. Oh,
yeah, but I mean, I like Mario Barrios on the pay-per-view card. Not gonna see him, And even though this fight isn't the best, Josito Lopez versus John Molina Jr. should be fun. It's a competitive fight.
Yeah.
Lopez looked good against Keith Thurman.
Yeah. So we thinking all the hashtag A sides.
Yeah. Well, technically speaking, Darrell's the A side, so not all the A sides, but we all know who the real A sides are. So yes, all the A sides should win on this card.
Or is it hashtag Darrell Benavidez?
I would assume so because Darrell's the champion. Technically speaking, Darrell's the champion. Remember, because Benavidez had the coke binge, and they made Darrell versus Ivani Yerdum, right? Remember, for the vacant belt,
yeah.
Which was actually a really fun fight. And then Yerdum had his little tantrum and has been saying that he wants the rematch
He
like a
he
year
took a
now.
trip to Mauricio's, didn't he? And
Yeah,
said
he did.
He's got his rematch though, right? Well,
Dylan White
he's
has his mandatory status, right? I mean, Mauricio Sulaiman was on Instagram with a video of Dylan White's hat shouting
Body
him out.
snatcher. Let's go. Hashtag let's go body snatcher.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
Moving
Yeah,
on, though.
He's got a bunch of hats.
On the topic of UK heavyweights, though, Daniel Dubois fights this weekend as well on Friday, I believe. Yes, Friday, on obviously ESPN Plus in the US and obviously BT Sport in the UK, fighting. Oh my God, I can't believe I get to say this name in real life, and it's a real person, Ebenezer. I'm sorry, I'm completely immature, guys. I will admit that. Fighting Ebenezer Tete, but not the real Tete, not the one we love. This is Ebenezer Scrooge, guys, Rob's cousin, and I am firmly. Because you're Ebenezer Scrooge. You know, like that's the joke. I've always called you Scrooge, Rob. Like, this isn't a new thing.
This is great banter.
It really is.
It really is.
But down to Brush should win this one, I mean, honestly, in devastating fashion. A round or two? Like, if it goes past 2 rounds, I'm upset here. Because he just had his best career performance to date against Nathan Gorman. And this gigantic step back with Ebenezer Scrooge. I don't understand this matchup at all, but hopefully he just gets a 1-round knockout and moves on. Hopefully, because this makes no sense.
Yeah, he says he's ready for Fury now. There's been a whole bunch in the UK media just this last week or so that, I don't know, Dubois is, I don't know.
They're fighting the same level of competition, so.
Oh. I mean, no, but Dubois is the guy. He is going to be, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff being written about, but yeah, I can't see Tete being any kind of test for Dubois. He seems legit. Still very young. Still a lot to improve and tighten up on. But at this moment in time, he's not facing anyone that can really exploit any of the weaknesses that might be there. But yeah, I fully expect Dubois to get another little mini boxing viral knockout that'll, you know, go around the Twitter sphere and the Instagram and stuff like that. So yeah, no surprises as what happens in that one.
Fu, so do you give your thoughts on Dubois, Tete, or Ebenezer Scrooge, as we're going to call him now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ebenezer is fantastic. He's 19-0, so it's a huge step up fight. I mean, you know, this is just it. Like you said, is this going to be like a first round KO? I don't know why. This is kind of like, could they not get a better fight?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. Frank Warren. I mean, if we're, you know what, we're gonna be like super petty because look, we don't even get credentialed for the big fights like Spence Porter. So like, fuck the promoters and everything. When we do our end of the year award show like we did last year, we are definitely gonna do best promoter and worst promoter of the year and stuff like that. We're gonna have best of and worst of categories 100%. And Frank Warren is a deep favorite for worst promoter of the year and of lifetime. Like, he might get a lifetime achievement award for that shit.
For what?
Being just an awful promoter, awful matchmaker. Like, just like, this makes no sense. Like, you have all this push and hype after Gorman, and you kill it. You destroy the hype and momentum with Ebenezer Scrooge. You do. Like, there's no point in this.
Is he like the number one heavyweight from, you know,
Albania?
Some tiny little country that
Monaco
has like 2 heavyweights? Yeah.
Just wait. All right. Just 1 second.
What?
I need to check something. Can't go throwing this kind of stuff out there.
What? Are you going to look up his box rec and see like, oh, look, guys?
No, I just want to see. It's for the Commonwealth heavyweight title. So he's just collecting the belts along the way.
Okay. Boxing Junkie, a.k.a. Heyman, TPE, a.k.a. Kobe Bean, a.k.a. all the other accounts that have been deleted, says Aram is just as bad. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I think we've all been on record here talking about ESPN's awful 2019 run, and that means Top Rank included. But digressing from this point, let's get back to the fights. Nicola Adams versus Maria Solanas for the WBO belt. We've always been fans of Nicola Adams, good friend of the show in a way, good friend of Coach Mitty in a way. So always going to be supporting her in her career. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see her fight again. I felt like she was talking about retiring, right? Like, am I imagining that? Like, she was talking about, like, I don't feel it anymore. Like, she's sort of been questioning her desire for the sport. I hope that she stays in it because I think she is a good fighter. I think she's a fun fighter. And she has a great personality that should be shown more. So shout out to Nicola Adams. Guys, thoughts?
Yeah, she's like been handed the belt, right? So to legitimize that, she needs to now go out and put on some performances. And I don't think any fighter wants to be given a belt, right? I don't think Jamal Charlo is particularly pleased that he's somehow the champion, the WBC champion, the way he's got it. I think, you much want to go and beat a champion to go and get it. So she's going to have to go out and do some defenses and try and unify and actually, win against the champion if possible. But yeah, Nicola Adams, good to see her back, So yeah, I'm sure she'll get the win.
Fu?
Yeah, I would like to see her put on a dominant performance. She's obviously very talented. I think there's been, with some of the promoters, it seems like they're struggling to, you saw it with Chantel Cameron and a couple other like top female boxers, just struggling to make the fights they need. And, that money's obviously an issue. They can't have the camps and things like that. So I'd like to see her kind of take the belt, run with it. Like Robbie said, unify, be in some big fights. She's won a gold medal, maybe two. She won one for sure. I'd have to look it up, but she's won a gold medal, I think, in 2012 or something, right? And so she's obviously a top talent in the sport. And the more competition there, then the more women's boxing is going to grow. So I'd like to see her get promoted a little better, put in some better fights, and get to show that she's up there with these girls.
Agreed.
So like to see a dominant performance.
Agreed. Moving on, Archie Sharp is also on the card, but he's still fighting TBA at this point in time. The fight's on Friday, guys. Oh my God. But I like Archie Sharp. I think he's a fun prospect to watch. Tall, lanky guy, and he boxes well on the back foot, so automatically I'm going to like that. So shout out to Archie Sharp. There's a bunch of other prospects that are undefeated on the card. I don't know who they are. Rob, I don't know if you know who they are.
Read them.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back to it. Sorry, I was going to move on. Denzel Bentley, Willie Hutchinson, Dennis McCann, Jonathan Palata, and Muhammad Balil Ali.
Who the fuck is he talking about?
Shout out to all the no context accounts that have just sprung up. Okay, no context Eddie, no context Bob Arum, all of them. Fantastic people out there.
Willie Hutchins is good. I like watching him, by the way. So yeah, go check him out. But yeah, I guess this is ESPN Plus or tomorrow night. Look,
no, not tomorrow. Friday
night boxing.
Yeah, it is. It's Friday night card. Absolutely.
At a loose end, pay your $5 and catch it on the Plus.
Agreed. Moving on, let's cover briefly the fights that happened this weekend. Mainly because, look, I don't think any of us really saw all of them, to be honest. I think most of us checked out this weekend. Full disclosure here. For example, the Peter Quillin and Alfredo Angulo card. I only watched 2 fights on that card, and I had the rest of it on the background. So, for example, Quillin, Alfredo Angulo, I didn't see. I heard it was a good fight. My bad. Did not see it. Thompson Dolome versus Terrell Williams. That was a fun fight. And Dolome won via unanimous decision. And Chris Colbert, a.k.a. Lil B-Hop. My favorite prospects. Right up there with Joe Cordina in terms of prospects I just fanboy out for. Picked up a dramatic first-round knockout over a longtime veteran, Miguel Patron Jr. I think that's a really good matchup, and obviously a great emphatic win in the first round by Chris Colbert. Also, I think Jonathan Cueva picked up a win as well. Again, I didn't watch this fight. A lot of guys picked up wins. A lot of the expected prospects that PBC has. Again, go watch the card on FS1 or Fox Sports app if you haven't seen it yet, or if you don't have those, dailymotion.com. But digressing from that, guys, I know, obviously, Rob, you didn't have access. It wasn't shown in the UK, but I did send some clips of like knockouts and stuff. Fu, I don't know how much you've seen. Thoughts on this card, guys? Anything?
Yeah, shame to see Quillen. Is this the same card, Quillen? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Like that, I think I don't think the passion's there anymore, the drive.
Hasn't been there for a while.
I think that should be over and out now for Quillen. Shame. I think that's what, is it 2 losses? That's it?
No. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me go back. No. Yes, 2 losses now.
Yeah.
And 1 draw.
Yeah. So I think the Jacobs loss was quite a big, seemed to be maybe a turning point because he's been super inactive since.
Mm-hmm.
But Angulo, I saw a little, report, which I'd already seen, but Heyman TB liked to point it out. But Angulo bowing at the feet of the almighty Al Heyman, thanking him for everything he's done, which is nice because he said along the lines of he's given me way more than I've given in the ring. And
I wouldn't agree with that, though, Angulo. You've given a lot in the ring. I'll say that. I know he doesn't feel like that, but Angulo's been a warrior for a long time, guys.
Yeah, but you don't know what Al's done for him, so that's easy for you to say.
But he's also fought big guys. He's fought Canelo, like he's fought Laura, like he's fought everyone in the division for a long time.
I know, but
I'm not surprised he made money.
You just don't know what Al's done for him, So I'm just saying.
Stop crapping around because you think you know better than anybody else.
Well said, Bob.
I feel like these no context accounts, I've given you a plethora of new gifts to use.
Yeah, I'm soundboarded up.
I'm surprised you haven't thrown any of the new Eddie ones, because there's a bunch of new Eddie ones we could do.
I think in the past I have got those clips anyway when they actually happened, clipping them for shows and stuff.
You need the Thursday night boxing one.
Yeah. Yeah, Angulo and Quillen. Who else? Yeah, Chris Colbert. Yeah, I like watching Chris Colbert. He seems to have found the man strength. What else did we have? Who else was another? There was another crazy knockout, right? I thought there was another. Or was that on the Showbox card?
Oh, that was a Showbox. No. There was there's a crazy knockout that was like a left hook over the dome, and it kind of hit the person's glove. The person went face first. That was another PBC FS1 knockout.
Yeah,
who that was. I'm assuming
Brandon Lee on the Showtime.
That's
Showbox
right.
card, right.
Yeah, that was good.
The crisp 1-2, like bang bang.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's let's just say, because look, I was here. Lewis Ritson was knocking out all these no names, and I was on the train. Now I see all you Americans on these trains with all these different people that haven't fought anyone yet, and I'm taking down notes.
That's right. Channel that Eddie. Channel that
wait,
Eddie.
wait.
Yeah,
Eddie rant.
Who are you comparing? Who are you comparing to Lewis Ritson here specifically?
I'm just saying, there was a kid. He was 2-0, and he's like, "Oh my god, this kid's the shit."
Who's they? Who's he? Who?
I've just seen it across the Twitter sphere.
But who's the guy? Like I don't know who you're talking. You know what I mean? Like I need context here. Like I don't know what you're referring to. Who you're referring to? I'm not on that side where like PBC Twitter and Matchman Twitter beef all the time. I don't care enough. I mute all you guys.
I can't remember. It was one of the. It was one of the crazy knockouts.
Okay. It wasn't Chris Colbert, right? You're not comparing like Chris Colbert to.
Oh, I know which one you're talking
Lewis
about.
Ritson.
No, it's the other.
No,
the other fight you were talking about.
Oh, the one that left hook over the dome that we can't remember the guy's name. Oh yeah, okay, I can understand that. Great knockout. Great knockout. Yeah.
Yeah. You go and watch Ritson's knockouts. They were sweet until he lost. And then it was, the fucking Lewis Ritson. What a bum. What a bum. Well, let's see. All right. I'm jotting these down. I'm keeping tabs. So as each one gets pinged off. I mean, to be honest, who's Chris Colbert for? to really not put him in that category yet.
I mean, he had a stellar amateur career.
Yeah, no, fair one. Yeah, fair one.
I mean,
Saying.
and also, I mean, he's had actually Miguel Patron Jr. has been a veteran. I mean, he's been in the game for like 40 fights. I mean, let me go through who he's fought.
So he's washed and old.
He's washed, but he's definitely fought people. Like, he's definitely fought great competition. He fought Roman Martinez, Gamboa. Who else? It's probably about the most notable names.
Long list. Okay.
Well, it's a bunch of names that like I vaguely know these guys, but they're B-sides. Like there's a lot of B-sides I remember seeing in like 126 to like 135.
Yeah. But
he's a B-side. He was a great B-side. Great. He was that guy, you know. Ritson, I don't think has he ever fought anyone that fought a world champion?
No, not yet, Matt. No.
You know, like so. I mean, there's differences there.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
But the guy you're talking about, the other guy, yeah. I mean, you can definitely
the Brandon Lee and the this and the that.
And also, Ritson isn't a bum. I want to make that point very clear. He just clearly has technical flaws that he needs to.
Bad basic. Yeah, I know.
He's really basic, but I mean, he has good fundamentals. I mean, he has a good base. The fight against Robbie Davis Jr. should be fun. I'm excited to see that fight. And
he's the Sandman.
And also, we've talked about this before, and I think like it always just needs to be restated because I think fans are just really awful people online. I love you guys in the chat, but come on, guys. You guys are really awful human beings at points and times when it comes to conversations about fighters.
Arnaz loved.
But there is 100% a place and a career path for guys like a Ritson, who's probably going to be just a regional guy, occasionally headlines a Friday night card, maybe occasionally gets like a British championship fight here and there. But that's him. You know, the Sam Eggingtons of the world. There's a path for those type of guys, and they make money. You have a long career, and there's legitimacy to that. They're not champions. We're not kind of saying that they're pound for pound greats. They're legends, but they have value, and they have very material value that we can look at and go, yes, they bring X, Y, and Z to the table in terms of the industry, and we need these types of people. So just want to point that out.
Shout out to Sam Eggington, number 5 in the IBF now. After his
God, ew. Ugh. Why? Why? He beat Rigatoni. Oh, not Rigatoni. He beat
Fiodor Digalo.
The Gigolo guy.
Roots, yeah. Whatever. Juice.
Wasn't that like Jack Black in the movie, right? Am I imagining that? American Gigolo? No, that was Rob Schneider, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Rob Schneider.
But yeah, no, I didn't get to see much because ITV seemed to have pulled the plug, or PBC have pulled the plug on ITV showing anything over here. So I've caught clips and bits and bobs and Daily Motion stuff. But I keep asking relevant people, what's the deal? And they're like, oh, I'm not sure what's going on there. But 15 cards a year, 3-year exclusive deal.
Fu, thoughts on the PBC?
I just want to say, I looked back when
thoughts on the PBC.
Oh,
no. Go on, Rob. You can. I know you want to rant. We're gonna get into other rants later. Don't worry.
Just a quick. When that ITV deal was announced, I looked down the list of comments, and there was just Al Heyman's one. I was like, okay, yeah, that aged well. Where's the ITV deal?
Moving on.
Al Heyman doesn't even exist. Why are we talking about Al Heyman all the time?
Who the fuck is he talking about?
Aaron is so that angry old white guy. What the fuck are we
talking about right now?
PBC on FS1 card, the Quillen and Gulo card. Did you watch it?
Oh, I watched the Colbert fight.
Okay.
It
was quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quick, and we'll watch the other one. I want to see the Angulo upset. I heard
it was a good fight.
It seems wild to me. I've heard it's a really good fight, and then I wasn't too interested in the Delorme fight at all. But I mean, I'm a hater. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Chris Colbert?
It was a good cut. It was a good fight. Delorme and I keep forgetting who did he fight?
Terrell Williams.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Really good fight.
Actually, it was. Yeah, I think the whole card was fun.
Because it was a really good fight with Jesse Vargas on the zone, but everyone seemed to hate that one for some reason. I don't know what.
But that fight wasn't that entertaining, I would say.
Yeah, it was.
Jesse Vargas, Thomas Delorme.
Yeah, it was fine.
Maybe I need to go back and watch it. No.
Yeah, no, it's okay, Matt. You watch him.
I'm
fight
not a
on
fan of Jesse Vargas, though. You know that. Like, I don't like Jesse Vargas.
It's fine. I get it.
Anyways,
Jesse
Fu.
Vargas, Lomo, great card to open. Great first American card.
It was a shit card.
Now he's the fucking savior on PBC FS1.
No one is saying he's the savior on FS1. No one is saying that. Fu. Any thoughts on Chris Colbert? Can we move on? For the love of fucking God.
He just he's a great talent. It's I was gonna make this because everyone in the chat, like, this is what the frustrating thing about boxing and fans in general. And in addition to a long laundry list of other fucking things that drive me nuts about fans, but the idea that like someone said, Robbie was on the Fowler train. The idea that now Fowler is like a shit boxer that's, never going to rebound. This is like why boxers don't test themselves early in their career. And you get these guys who fight 40 fights against nobodies to pad their resume. Like the sport is going to do better when people take harder fights earlier in their career and take the losses. Like, it doesn't mean that everyone has to go and say, now that guy's a piece of shit because he has a loss on his record. Like, you want a guy with 20 fights, like a Devin Haney, to fight a Lomachenko. If that's the best fight that can be made in the weight class, you don't want Haney to continue to fight the level of competition that he has for 20 more fights. Like, it's frustrating that, when boxers put themselves in a position to take a loss because they are fighting somebody that's maybe more experienced or is another, like a Dubois versus Gorman. Like, that's a great fight to make. I mean, one of those guys had to take a loss early in their career. It's like, now is Gorman dog shit, or is he going to be able to rebound and prove that he's just as good and he just lost to a better fighter on the night, whatever, it's so frustrating to see how fans talk about boxers. I mean,
I just want to make this point. It's a distinction from criticizing fighters' skill set or technique post-fight. That's completely acceptable. I think that should be, that's the norm. That should be happening. If you take a loss, there are reasons you lost. So let's address those reasons that you lost. But it's the
same fans that say the quarterback's shit. It's the same fans that say, how the fuck did he miss that goal? It's the same fans that he missed the fucking slam dunk or what? It's.
I like how Rob went all over the place in sports. Look at you, Rob. Look at you.
Like, Rob watches any other sport. It's the same fans that say, like, he could have scored more wickets, but he didn't. Hey, is that a term? That's a cricket term, right?
Yeah, don't try and do that again, please.
Damn it. I thought I had it.
You don't score wickets.
What do?
You take wickets, you score runs.
Oh, we score runs, we take wickets. It's the same fans that say they could have scored more runs for taking more wickets. Yeah, same fans.
You take names, you kick ass, come on. You gotta get the order right.
It's not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. It's something that's really serious.
I need that one. I need that one so bad. Okay, moving on, though, to a serious matter here, guys. Serious. Because I saw a lot of people really outraged by what happened here. Gary Russell Jr.
Oh, God.
Hang on.
Who the fuck is he talking about?
Gary Russell Jr., the featherweight champion of the world, WBC.
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah.
Is it WBC? I don't know. Or is that Leo?
Occasionally fights, I think.
Anyways, he ran up to Leo Santa Cruz's dad at some fight, assuming the PBC card on FS1, and had kind of a cringy call-out video. And so let's just play it, because obviously it's a lot of people are talking about it. I switch over here. Get Russell.
Man, y'all ain't gonna believe this shit. Check this out. Y'all already know how bad I've been on Leo Santa Cruz ass, right? The managers, the promoters, they just won't let me get an arm's reach of this motherfucker for some reason. I don't know why. But I can tell you one thing. Check who I ran into. I can get this motherfucking father, though. I damn sure ran into his father and had the nerve to walk in.
Really? Twitter, as it's buffering.
What a cunt.
Thank you, Rob. Shout out to Twitter.
Oh man,
Rob, you pull it up on yours and play it.
Oh wait, hang on. Oh shit.
You can do that. Whoa.
Bye, Rob.
Whoa, what the fuck? Rob, what happened to you? Rob! Rob! You who are you gonna miss him? R.I.P.
Rip.
Poor 40 out. Let's try to go back to this Gary Russell clip as Rob does whatever he's doing. I don't know.
Yeah, like everything's sweet and it ain't. Let me show you something. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Lake.
Yeah, I like them.
Like this?
I like all them. I like, you see the chains? I like them. Stop ducking me. Stop ducking me. Come see me. I want you. I want you. I'm at arm's reach. I can touch him. I can put my hands on him, Leo.
Morales?
I can put my hands on him. So if you want some smoke, I'm not playing no games with nothing moving. Don't think y'all can pop up and run around and hide and disappear. Stop acting like a sucker and come see me before I go get your father.
All right. Now, we have Rob back. Hold on, Rob. And because of this, you've been demoted. Oh, hold on.
Fuck that. Put me back in the middle.
No, you've been demoted to the side now.
Look at Phil. He doesn't even sit in the middle.
Woohoo!
That's true. He doesn't really sit in the middle. It's really frustrating why he doesn't just
Off out the side.
move the camera over slightly so he is centered in the frame.
You go the wrong way. Yeah, I told you.
Hold on.
Oh my god.
Hold on.
That's good enough, Foo.
A laughing matter. It's not a joke. It's something that's really serious.
Production quality, Phil. Come on, get your shit together.
I also like how Foo's shorter than all of us too. Have you noticed that? Like it's like a V. Anyways, digressing. Back to Gary Russell Jr. and talking about calling out Leo Santa Cruz, all that fun stuff, cringy clip. And also, Leo Santa Cruz via Fight Hype came out and said, it was disrespectful, but I don't take it personal. If they, my team, say you're going to fight Russell, I'll fight him. And it also revealed that his dad didn't even know who Gary Russell Jr. was and thought he was Rico Ramos. Now, I'll be honest, I definitely thought that as well, watching it, that, he doesn't know who Gary Russell is right now. Like, he's an old guy, like, he just, some guy taking a video, looking at my chain, just thought my chain's cool, you can take a video of it. And that was it. And also, I will add, I mean, yeah, like, don't try to beat up old people, but that's not what he did here. I think he was trying to be, like, cut a promo, like, cut a line, and it was cringy. But, like, the people out there, like, condemning Gary Russell, like, don't you dare threaten a man that's had cancer. It's like, no, I don't think he was really threatening him. It was just a promo. It was just not a good one, in my opinion. Guys, thoughts on this controversial clip out there? Foo?
Dude, I love it. Now this makes Leo versus Gary a huge fight. That was the shittiest promo ever. It's like someone failed to do a WWE like promo where they can smash someone's house in, and it's like randomly happens, like when they did that with Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the day. But it's like, this is like if you did it and you were just shit at everything in life. No, it wasn't like Gary Russell as like trying to be the heel or whatever is not good.
It definitely reminds me of like Henry Cejudo.
It's fucking terrible. He's trying to sell this narrative that he's all of a sudden like ducked and no one will fight him when there is so much information out there that he has turned down so many fights.
No, not for this matchup. For this matchup, it's to the contrary.
No, he's turned down this fight multiple times, and so has Leo Santa Cruz. Yes, they both turned down this fight at different times.
I haven't seen any reporting that Gary Russell turned down any official offer. If you can find that reporting, send it to me. Because I have not seen that.
I will send.
Rob, I think you want to jump in here because Foo's going to look up some news.
Oh, I was just trying to find the perfect soundbite to give Foo then. Another Bob Arrow. I'll get it. But no, this was a bit of a dick move. It was like just really shit. It's like the shittest version of Clubber Lang. He was even like whispering in case someone overheard him and saw him being a dick. He was almost like.
I don't think that's why he was whispering. I think he thought that was for dramatic effect.
Oh yeah.
And again, like
if he wants to be dramatic, fight twice a year. Fucking hell.
Yeah, right.
It's just, I don't know. I didn't like it. Although this is where I'm probably not gonna go far in life, because part of me is outraged and the other part of me finds it really funny.
Outraged by what specifically, though?
Not necessarily maybe outraged is a bit strong, but I just thought it was a real shitty thing to do.
Because like he's his trainer. I mean, like to me that would be like Spence going up to like Buddy McGirt and talking shit. Like that's not Buddy, sorry, Bomac, and talking shit. Like that would be like okay, like
yeah, but Bomac would know what he was saying and what he was talking about and who it was.
True, but I think Gary Russell didn't think that was going to happen that way. You know what I mean? Like again, like I'm not saying the promo was good or that it was, sellable, but I'm not saying like it was. I didn't find it malicious. I find it as a corny attempt at trying to sell a fight.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like it was obvious that it was put on. It wasn't natural. Like I don't think it was threatening at all. Like, I don't think he was trying to like intimidate his dad. It didn't seem like that. You can't
intimidate someone who doesn't even know what's going on. Like,
but okay, I understand your joke here, but do you understand my point, and you want to address my point or not? Because
was it malicious? I don't know. I would just think it's a dick move. Just don't. There was no need for it. In my opinion,
I just think it was lame.
If it was good, it would be fine. I think if it was a fun promo and his dad was into it, Leo's dad, like he caught on to what was happening and bit into the bit, none of us would care. But the fact that like it came off corny, cringy, and I think there's just a lot of people that hate Gary Russell Jr. as well. Like, he's one of those guys that does get a lot of hate and criticism. And
I didn't hate him.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking in general.
All right, I'm just saying how I felt.
I know that, but I'm not. Let me finish my point, please, before you interrupt me. Then, if you want to talk about how you feel, I'm talking about how I feel, my opinions, please. I think combined with all those points and factors, I think you had this weird outrage on this video. But if Joshua did this with Andy Ruiz's dad, I think no one would care. I think if again, Spence Crawford did it to each other's trainers, no one would care. I think in a lot of cases, people wouldn't care if other fighters did it. But Gary Russell is one of those guys that no one seems to like because he doesn't fight often. You know, he kind of has a negative fight style in a way. And this is a fight that has not been made. I think that's pissed off the fans. And again, it was a really cringy promo. So you're automatically going to get hate just for that alone. Add on to, oh, it's Gary Russell pulling off the cringy promo. He's going to get even extra hate. And he doesn't have a fan base to really balance it out, unlike some other guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I just wanted to ask Bob Arum when Foo said about Gary Russell not getting the fight and stuff like that.
I mean, don't make up shit.
Yeah,
that's not made up.
I'm
I just sent you guys the tweets.
The tweets from who? Let's see.
Adam Abramowitz, whatever the fuck this guy's name is.
Okay.
Gary Russell Jr. has turned down a lot of fights in his career. And the narrative now that like he's like this duck.
But this isn't about
boxer.
But no, this isn't about again.
This is about Leo Santa Cruz.
No, it's not. You're talking about different fights than Leo. I'm looking at it, bro.
It says right here.
Bro, I'm looking at the tweets. Like you can
And then look right here. He says he's been offered that fight many, many times over the last 2.5 years. I can only tell you what I heard talking to people at the PBC. They've had a really difficult time over the years getting his side to sign on the dotted line for fights. Specifically the one above talking about Leo Santa Cruz. And then he says, yes, both of these fighters have turned down this fight over the last 2.5 years. So to now, that's why, like, to me, I don't like when people come out and try to like win over their side. Like the fans that obviously, like the PBC guys are going to say, or the Gary Russell fans are going to say, oh my God, like no one wants to fight Gary Russell Jr. He's such a hard fight. But the truth of the matter is, like, he hasn't really stepped up and taken any of the hard fights that have been offered to him. So that's my point. And then to do a WWE fucking little segment to try to get Leo to take a fight that obviously they probably both don't want.
Look, I think, first off, I think I was wrong about Gary Russell Jr. turning down the Leo Santa Cruz fight. Obviously, you brought up a good source. Adam is a decent source. However, it has also been reported that Leo Santa Cruz has turned down the fight. I think to this point, both these guys, separate from this video, if we can separate this from the video to this point, both these guys have been disappointing lately. Leo included. If you look at who Leo has been fighting, not named Abner Mares or Carl Frampton even in the last 5 years, it has not been great competition. Gary Russell Jr., his last, I would say, really notable fight was maybe was it Oscar Escudon? No, who was it?
Diaz, right?
Was Diaz after that? I'm trying to remember the timeline here. I don't have his record up. Then maybe it's Joseph Diaz. So it's time for both these guys to fight better competition here. And
both guys I really like too.
I like their styles. I like their fights.
I like both these guys. I think Leo's probably the best at 126 because Russell's not active enough. That's my issue, right? So skill wise, he's probably the best.
I mean,
but he's not active enough.
Leo's fighting twice a year. I mean, he's fighting one more time. It's not like he's super active. And secondly, his other fight is against no-namers. I'll be honest here. I've made this point several times. I'd rather you fight one good name a year than fight twice a year and that second name be no one. That does nothing for you. It wastes a fight camp, wastes his precious brain health when you go through a fight camp and a fight when you're fighting no one. So don't do it. It's a waste of time. And Leo's done that quite often. I'm pretty sick of it. It's reminiscent of like Oscar Valdez fighting continual no-namers and no-namers. It's ridiculous. Rob, I know me and Fu were going back and forth. I didn't know if you want to jump in and give any other thoughts or opinions.
I think I should be back in the middle screen. And no, not really. Yeah, I don't hate him because of this video or anything like that.
I'm not. When I said the Gary Russell hate, I'm not talking to you or at you or about you.
You said everyone seems to.
Okay, when I say everyone, I mean more of the internets. When you look at it online, Gary Russell doesn't get a lot of love, right?
Just my phone off. Yeah.
I mean, can we all agree with that?
He's the like general kind of. As soon as his name comes up,
everyone's got a joke.
The instant joke is, well, maybe if he fought twice a year, or see him, March 2020,
and unlike let's say,
what the fuck was that? That was
unlike let's say an AJ who gets obviously a lot of hate online. He has a giant fan base that goes to bat for him every time. So there's a counterbalance to that. I don't think Gary Russell has really any fan base, unfortunately, because he hasn't fought enough, hasn't built momentum, doesn't do enough media for all the things that we have mentioned. But moving on to a guy that doesn't...
let me say, I think that's the first social media post I've ever seen of Gary Russell. So there you go. I don't think I've seen him post anything else on social media.
He has been more active lately in media, like YouTube media. Like if you look up Gary Russell's name in the last year, he's been more active. But
I mean, he kind of caught himself out. DAZN were sniffing around him for a little while, but I think Eddie said his reluctance to want to fight more regularly was an issue for them, so they didn't pursue it any further. And so we'll see. I don't know.
Moving on. Speaking of another guy who has, I would say, marketing and promotional issues, Terrence Crawford. His rep, speaking to Sean Nam of Boxing Junkie at USA Today, basically said to the effect, I will lay into, this is Brian McIntyre speaking, who works as a trainer and manager of Terrence Crawford, I will lay into Top Rank and ESPN to make the big fights happen, starting off with any of those guys over at PBC. Now, this obviously, I think, in response to the very obvious public, condemning of Crawford's next fight against Kavaliauskas, which, while he's mandatory, is a guy that's coming off a draw and a win and hasn't really looked to be anywhere near the top 15 in the division at this point in time.
Who the fuck is he talking about?
And on top of that, we only have the other fight this year for Terrence Crawford is a gigantic pay-per-view bust in the Amir Khan fight that, God, I just want to forget, and I keep forgetting, to be honest. So,
do you know, to put a Bob Arum soundbite in, I removed the he hit him in the testicles. That would
that'd be perfect for this topic. But digressing, I do get the sense that it's starting up here in the Crawford team that there's a sense of urgency. That, hey, we just wasted 12 months doing nothing. Pay-per-view bombed against Khan. ESPN didn't push it the way we want it. On top of that, I don't know who's to blame here. Maybe it's Crawford. Maybe it's ESPN. Maybe it's Top Rank. Maybe it's all of the above. But think about the apparatus that Terrence Crawford's attached to. The ESPN circuit, ABC, Disney. He's attached to that. And the Top Rank machine, which has a, 60-plus year history of making giant superstars. What is happening with Terrence Crawford in his offseason to just do nothing? To lose momentum every time, for people to stop talking about him. And on top of that, to then go fight subpar competition each time. I mean, there must be a sense of urgency within his team and camp that you're wasting time here. Precious time in your prime, in your career, when you need to be fighting these other guys. Rob, Fu, any thoughts on the sense of urgency from Terrence Crawford's team, the fact that they're going to be pushing Top Rank and ESPN, quote, to lay into them to make these big fights happen? Guys, thoughts?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a kind of a nothing year for Bud, I'm afraid. And I don't know. I just feel we might be losing the best years of Bud's career. Because what is he, like 33, 32? 30?
Is he 33? He can't be that old. That'd be sad. I'll check it up really fast. You talk. I'll check it up.
Yeah. But, I think at some point fairly soon, he's like, is this the peak of Bud Crawford? Is he wasting the peak years against this level of competition? I think bottom line, maybe they know they did go to the wrong, I hate the term, but side of the street, what did they have to, what did they have to offer him really? Over
31. He's 31 years old.
31. Okay, mate. Yeah.
Still concerning.
It just felt like 33 since, anything important happened. Yeah, it's a shame. Bomac, I guess, making the right noises, like we're not happy kind of thing. Does it result in anything? No, I don't necessarily think it does, but I don't know. This we seem a long way off a Spence fight, in my opinion, providing Spence keeps on his trajectory and picks up bouts and stuff like that. I don't know. It's I can imagine being within the camp. It's very frustrating if you know or you think you're the best, but you're stuck somewhere where you can't particularly get credit for anything you do because you're supposed to beat these guys, emphatically and look great doing it, but it doesn't come with any kind of cachet. Like you're not going to gush over him knocking out Kavaliauskas, even if he does it in fantastic fashion and style. It's like, well, you were supposed to. Who's this guy? So it is tricky, and I can understand frustrations within the camp because as much as Bud might be like, I'm fine, I'm doing my thing, and come and see me, and this, that, and the other. No one really is coming to see you over there. I don't know.
Well, he does good TV numbers. So luckily, this fight's on
well,
TV.
but
So it's going to do good numbers. It has a great lead in. It's going to do decent traction. But it's a fight against a name no one knows, no one cares about. The casual fans don't get invested into that. And on top of that, what are you going to do after it? Like, what's the next thing after Kavlauskas? Is it a Danny Garcia fight? Is it Kell Brook? Is it Sergey Lipinets? Is it the winner of Spence Porter? Is it Manny Pacquiao? I mean, there are so many names he could be fighting that he's just isn't. And again, I don't mean to say that because we did a video on the Bob Arum and Oscar beef, right? I think a couple days ago, right, Rob, about Oscar saying that Bob needs to promote Crawford better. He's not in the Hall of Fame due to Bob. I remember that. And we received actually a lot of hate due to that. You should check out the comment section. It's hilarious. But my point when I bring up this fact that Terrence Crawford is not fighting great competition and therefore wasting prime years of his career isn't a knock on Crawford and saying, oh, it's his fault. It's all him to blame. I'm not saying that. I think clearly, there's evidence that and reporting that Danny Garcia didn't accept a pay-per-view deal for that one fight for Terrence Crawford. We know Kell Brook was offered the fight, but he didn't want to go down to 147. Like, we know certain things, but then the question is, look, why don't you send a catchweight offer to Kell Brook? Because even if it's not for your title, it's a better fight than Kavlauskas. Sorry. Danny wants more money? Offer him more money. Like, honestly, you got to do something here. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting years of your career. And I think on top of that, he completely wasted momentum, whatever he had, if any, post Amir Khan. Because he didn't go back and send offers again to Danny Garcia or Kell Brook post Amir Khan. He sent them before Amir Khan, didn't make those fights, obviously, then chose Amir Khan, fought him on pay-per-view, and now he's fighting Kavlauskas. Not even a Luis Collazo, at least, for God's sake. It's, again, not his fault, but it is a reality, and it needs to be addressed and it needs to be fixed because he is wasting years. While Errol Spence is, 28, 29 years old, right, and fighting great competition at this point in time, and has a great depth in the roster to fight. And you're going to lose out legacy-wise to this guy, even though you have great legacy at 140 and 135, Crawford. Sorry. 147 is the big dog. It's the big championship. Okay, Roberto Duran, the best lightweight of all time. He's not considered the best welterweight of all time. Why? Because he lost to certain guys there. He lost. He didn't get certain fights and certain timings. He didn't get the trilogy with Sugar Ray Leonard. Obviously, the Nomaz fight, right? Terrence Crawford, if you don't get these certain fights, what you did at 135 and 140 doesn't matter in comparison for casual fans and long-term compared to what Errol Spence is doing at 147. And that's just the God-honest truth. Again, not his fault, but a reality that needs to be addressed.
I think the thing that really sucks for Terrence Crawford is he signed a new multi-year deal last year, I think, with Top Rank. So you can't really just get out of that contract, He's and he really needs to go and join the PBC roster to get the fights that he wants or needs to really solidify his legacy. Mm-hmm. As much as that sucks, and I hate the idea that you have to be on the same side of the street to make fights, the reality is there's so much money in boxing that if you're not making in-house fights anymore, it's really hard to make money off of a fight. If, the boxers want to get paid well, and they should, but there's not enough money in the sport really to fund everything. So you got to figure out a way to cut your expenses,
Quickly, at least in the current paradigm of purses. We know that, check out our video from a couple days ago about DAZN cutting back their high purses. I'm expecting that to be a domino effect industry-wide, and hopefully this giant financial and economic bubble that's appeared in boxing gets shrunken down a little bit before it bursts, because it could burst at any point. Because like Fu said, these top fights, I don't know if the networks are making the money back. I don't know that. There's a lot of money that's being spent in just pure purses, let alone marketing budgets, let alone production costs. Imagine what guys like Lennox Lewis is getting paid just for commentating for a fight.
Yep.
You know, like guys are needing to get paid,
much.
let alone the camera guy, your editor in the back, you know, the entire team it takes to make this, right?
Security for the venue.
It is such an expensive thing to put on a big level fight. If you're not making big time money back, and if you're the networks, how long do you do that? How long do you have these giant network deals that again are amazing, but the budgets have now gone way out of whack. The purses have gone way out of whack across the board that I think hopefully we don't have a bursting of this economic bubble because it could legitimately happen soon. Sorry, I know I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, that's perfectly fine. I was pretty much done with my point. Ellie did make a good point that Wilder versus Fury is being made on different sides of the street. I think that's a different thing though, because there is so much money in that fight. You know, the pool is larger, so it's easier to come away with a win, even when you're sending your fighter to a different network or when you're bringing Fury over and having to pay him so much money to fight. You know, in the lower weight classes, even at 147, being kind of a glam division, the money may not be there for even like the Pacquiao Thurman fight. I don't know that they came out ahead on that fight. If those purses were real that they talked about, you know, so
yeah,
So that's how you end a fucking sentence. Jesus.
And then the look down. Play the great. This is great banter soundbite, please, Rob. Please. Oh my god.
This is great banter. It really
That
is.
was so good. Ah, Foo. I love you. Moving on. Hold on. Just because of that, it's time. Rob, you're back in the middle now. Okay?
I feel so much better over here anyways.
So
demoted.
Oh man.
Let's talk about this news. Hopefully, briefly, just for the sake of time. We have a lot of callers actually today. I apologize, guys. Callers, I see all of you guys there. You guys press 1. Perfect. We only have about 30 minutes left for Blog Talk to keep the line open for you guys to call in. So when that thing rings or whatever and says the line's down, don't worry. If you guys are still on the line, you guys are safe. We'll get to your calls. But call in 323-870-4051. You have 30 minutes to get the call in and to stay in the line. Again, stay on the line because we have a lot of topics to get to. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more topics to get to. Sorry, guys. We've been gone all weekend. Moving on, though. What was that?
60 seconds.
Yeah, that great thing. Comcast adding, obviously, DAZN in effort to slow migration, claw back pay-per-view boxing revenues per John Wall Street. Now, this is in conjunction with the news that we talked about, again, a few days ago, about the Comcast and Xfinity deal with DAZN. But, oh my God, Rob, you're so bad. Rob is so biased, guys. It's sickening. Sickening. But there's an interesting part in this article, which I want to get to specifically. Let me get to the paragraph. Here it is. Over the last 30 years, it has been customary for distribution platforms to receive 50% of pay-per-view boxing sales revenue on average. I want to add that part on average because, as we know, each fight is its own deal. But in the averaging of it all, it's around 50%. Canelo versus Triple G did 1.3 million buys at $85. If distributors sold 100% of the buys, they didn't. Some were bought direct from the rights holder. They would have split more than $55 million. It's not unreasonable to suggest that DAZN's ability to court some of boxing's biggest stars has cost pay-per-view distributors north of $100 million over the last 12 months. Now, I want to just, again, add to this point because I think that's a good sort of factoid in the statistic to go off on. And again, coupling it with other sports like MMA. Sorry, Rob, but I think it's important here for this discussion. The UFC obviously are now solely and exclusively distributing their pay-per-views through ESPN+. So the old cable distributors of DirecTV, even a cable Xfinity or Dish, they are no longer getting a cut or any access to some of these big mega fights. UFC events and pay-per-views. Obviously, Canelo Alvarez is no longer on the table for US pay-per-views, and we've seen in the wake of that really PBC rise when it comes to the pay-per-view market with cable distributors. Now, this is a thought that I've thrown out there online. I don't know if it's true yet. I want to obviously get more data to talk about it, but I wonder if there is a correlation with UFC, all of a sudden, all of the pay-per-views gone from the distribution that what they were accustomed to. Same with Canelo, probably the biggest U.S. pay-per-view draw at this point. Now, in that wake, did companies like Fox, on purpose, reinvest into cable pay-per-views to somehow get a bigger chunk of the pot? I'm just, again, throwing that out there. I don't know if that's the case. But, guys, any thought about the loss in revenue for the cable distributors and any sort of long-term or even short-term effects in the market for how these cable companies react to big-level fights because they're no longer getting a cut of it?
I don't really know like the ins and outs, and I'm not clever enough for this shit. But no, I did read through the article, and it was suggesting like this Xfinity thing with Comcast, like aligning themselves with DAZN. They're gonna take, what is it? They're gonna, from signups, right? A percentage out of the signups. So if signups come via Comcast for
Comcast gets a
DAZN,
cut.
then they're gonna get, what was it, 30%?
I want to say you're right. I forget exactly.
Something like that. So it's obviously something that worked because we've lost pay-per-view money, so we're going to make some money some other way.
Yep.
And it obviously works for DAZN because Joe Markowski explained it as DAZN, especially in the build-up to a big fight, they're going to be front row and center in the middle of your screen when you turn it on. You know, like Canelo Kovalev is going to be, pushed. There's going to be some advertising attached to it, not just a DAZN.
Because now Comcast gets a cut of the fight now in a way, right? So that incentivizes them. Yes.
It all makes sense. We're going to make some money back, and DAZN are getting that push for subscribers. And
unlike, let's say, DirecTV or Dish, other cable companies, they won't push DAZN or even UFC pay-per-views as much. You're going to have to go to those individual networks like Fox or ESPN specifically to find advertising because they have no incentive now to push these events that are now on streaming.
Yeah. So, I see like the sort of benefits to both sides now. At first I was like, well, because obviously I don't know what this Xfinity thing is really, and how I'm sure it's sort of not that different to like my Skybox really, but obviously I think we've got Netflix on there and YouTube, but not all the like the Amazon, all these other things. I don't know what else is on Xfinity, but I saw this might lead to other deals, and then I think was it Roku were mentioned and or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what all this is, so I'm just sort of waffling nonsense to be honest. But I just know that this seems not just by the author, but also Joe Markowski of DAZN, that this is the beginning of maybe more deals coming up for DAZN with other. I don't really know other providers. This Comcast thing's a new thing to me, really. So I don't know, but it seems to be beneficial to both parties. So all good, I suppose. See how it pans out.
Are you okay over there, man? You tired? Is this boring you?
You got karate soon. Chill out.
No, I was just reading it. It's 15 to 30%. So of the
the cut from signing up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I guess that they're going to also use some of Comcast's server base, like to stream the content. So hopefully that'll get us some better
streaming
quality from the streaming. So it's a pretty neat deal that they're doing there, I wonder, they'll probably package it in like they do with HBO and like offer you like, hey, if you do like a sports package, they'll throw DAZN in on it or something. So that might give boxing a little bit of some extra eyes there.
And plus, further point just about the industry, it's an attempt by a traditional cable provider, in a sense, a distributor, trying to mesh with the streaming era and trying to adapt to it. And I don't have Comcast Xfinity. I have DirecTV. So hopefully they, again, innovate as well, because you're going to have to. Otherwise, these companies are going to die out. Like, it's going to be the way of music streaming and CD companies and other sort of changes in structures of how an industry works. And I think companies like Xfinity or Comcast more directly and DirecTV Dish have to adapt. And this is clearly an attempt to do that.
Very quick. Do you think this link up with Comcast and Xfinity or whatever do you think that's a big plus as far as DAZN maybe getting rights to other sports over in the US? Do you think it's like, is it something that might be like, oh, well, that's, that's something to, we'd maybe be interested in now? Do you know what I mean? It's before, when it was just the plain app for your computer or your phone or through your PlayStation, but now it's gone through Comcast, which is tens of millions of subscribers.
I think in order for that to happen, rephrase the question again. Sorry, just ask the question again just one more time.
Just does this link up with Comcast, which now is potentially a hell of a lot more eyes on DAZN? Obviously, they'll want to see numbers that are attached to this, but does this help the pursuit of other sports rights in America?
I don't know if it directly helps, and I think if it were to directly help, you would almost see like a merger of DAZN and Comcast, right? Like that would almost be what is the next necessary step, is that you have the merger of these companies in some way, and then then
it would just be offered.
Yeah, and then yes, exactly, it'd be part of the company in a way. Now, I don't know in this new era that we're about to approach when it comes to NFL, NBA, MLB, and their plans to split TV and digital rights. I don't know how that is going to turn out, because we have Disney going at them, we have Amazon going at them, and those two companies are the biggest companies in the world. Comcast is giant. Fu knows this. Comcast is a giant company, but they're not Disney or Amazon at this point in time. So I don't know if they can beat out for the digital rights to give to DAZN, because that's what they would need to go after, because the TV rights would be separate from a DAZN offering, right? You would need to attack the digital rights of these big-time sports like NFL, etc., and you would have to then battle Disney, Amazon. Now, it does help them because now they have another sort of player on their table, so to speak, right? In Comcast. It does help them. But I don't know if it directly will lead them to get these digital rights, or if it directly helps them even. It might be more of an indirect help. I don't know the machinations and sort of how these two companies will work together in that way.
It also may be the reverse. It may be that this deal was signed knowing that DAZN has some other stuff lined up, so Comcast was like, we'll work this deal with you. Because they've already got a push for some other stuff.
That's optimistic to DAZN. I will say that. Could be. You're right. Could be, but I think that's very optimistic.
I don't know. I think DAZN I think along the way, only in a year, I think they have surprised people with certain things that have dropped, and it's been like, well, like I say, I'm not saying, I wasn't asking, does that mean bang, the NFL are going to go, shit, they've got Comcast?
No, I understand your point.
That's a done deal. We're with you. I just wondered if it would be like a plus.
It definitely doesn't hurt, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a question of status quo, it's a marginal help, or it's a significant help. Those are three very different things that it all could be. And I don't know yet. I'm leaning more to it kind of helps. But the help that I think you are looking at in this sort of conversation is more the fact that Comcast and DAZN would need to have a full-on merger for that to directly happen in the way that I think you're envisioning it to happen.
Yeah, no, like I said, I don't know enough about it. That's why I asked the question, really.
But I do expect, let's say this, if Comcast is talking to NFL in terms of deals, Same with MLB, NBA. DAZN execs and Comcast execs will be talking to each other on these deals and about them in some way. Absolutely, you have to, because now DAZN is going to be looking for this TV company to help them distribute their content and then also to get them content. That's definitely going to be a goal of theirs in this partnership. Absolutely. Moving on, though, just for the sake of time. Sorry, we have to move on. We have a lot of callers, it seems. New callers as well. Stay on the line, guys.
Heyman World, I'm waiting.
I'm also going to have to
shut up.
bounce here in like a few.
Shut up, Foo. Lubin, Gachet, Easter Granados, October 26th, Showtime, confirmed. It's a fun card, though it's definitely going to get chewed up on that day. That day is stacked with really great fights. On top of that, World Championship fights, and neither one of these fights are World Championship fights, and that does hurt it in some way. But if this was a Friday night card, it would kill, in my opinion. I think this actually kind of hurts it being on Saturday. But good card. Not, I think, the savior of Showtime in terms of the Showtime boxing content that people are looking for, but still a good doubleheader. Moving on just for the sake of time, guys, and then I'll get your brief thoughts on all these topics. Kurat Pulev will likely face Australia's Mark DeMori on November 9th. I feel like I remember Mark DeMori from somewhere. Didn't he fight like David Hay or something?
David Hay in 2016.
Yeah, on the David Hay comeback run. I remember those times. Those were good times. Fun times. Moving on.
Not in that mandatory status.
This is going to be a debate topic. We're going to push this one off for tomorrow or maybe Wednesday when Fu has another day off.
What is it?
The Ring Magazine heavyweight rankings with Tyson Fury at number 1. That's
we can
bullshit.
do that Wednesday.
That's bullshit. And this gigantic scandal, guys. Actually, kind of. Well, not funny. Somebody died, but it's weird. It's a weird story. Like, it definitely could be a Hallmark movie at some point.
Oh yeah, that one. Holy shit!
And did you see the update? Yeah, it got updated, right? So basically, what happened is Isis Velichkov, a fighter, was believed to have died on Saturday, but he didn't die. He was alive, and he posted on Facebook, "That wasn't me, guys. I'm alive." Not an exact quote. Paraphrasing here.
Oh, shame.
And actually, it was his cousin Boris Velasquez who died, unfortunately. And there's a lot of now questioning of the commission and sort of medical examinations before the fight. But read this article on Boxing Scene. It's wild. We don't have enough time to break it down, but it's a wild fucking story. Definitely worth checking out. Let's go to callers, guys, unless you guys have any quick points about any of these last topics.
Nah, just smash that thumbs up, share the show. Looking forward to the callers. And quickly, Pulev, he's not going to risk any live bodies. He's got that IBF mandatory spot. He's looking for that payday. He's obviously waiting for or hoping that Joshua wins that.
Agreed.
To get that big money from his spot. But he's not risking anything. But let's go to the callers.
706 area code. 706.
Heyman. Mr. Heyman.
Who is this?
What's going on, Robbie?
Who is this? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, Matt? What did you say?
I said, who is this? Where are you calling from?
Heyman. It's Jason. I'm from Atlanta. I've called your show before. I think I got banned one time, but I hope I don't get banned this time. But
okay.
Your third real co-host was saying that Farmer makes $2 million a fight. I don't know where he got that fake information.
No, I looked it up. You're right. It's a $2 million deal. But it still offered more money to Tank Davis to fight on DAZN.
Let me finish, man. You accused Tank of not fighting good fights. Then I told you Farmer sent him a $2 million offer, and you're like, Farmer makes way more than $2 million. I'm like, no, he doesn't. I mean, come on, man. You're on the show. You can't be spreading info like that, man. I mean, I could. I'm a fanboy. You know, you should leave that to me. You shouldn't be doing that. I mean, that guy doesn't make $2 million a fight. He doesn't even make $1 million a fight. That's why I never got the hate for Tank. I mean, if Tank didn't want to fight Farmer, why would they send him a $2 million offer? They obviously didn't send that offer just for fun. Farmer had the choice to take that offer, and that would have been a great fight. And Farmer has to fight 4 guys to make that same amount of money that he could have made in one night. I've never understood why he couldn't take it. And now Joe Murkowski is saying the guys that don't move the needle are not going to get paid inflated purses. So if he was making $600 before, what do you think he's going to make now? Like $400? Because Farmer's not moving any needle on DAZN. Am I right?
Well, you're absolutely right. I agree with you that Farmer's overrated too. But they offered more money for Tank to fight on DAZN.
Yeah, but
So
Tank
does that
is
mean
like-
that Tank
he-
doesn't
he
want
just
that
sold
fight?
Yeah, but Tank just sold 15,000 tickets fighting a fucking tomato can. His promoter's building him into a star. Just like Eddie didn't send Callum Smith to go fight Billy Joe over to Frank Warren. He said, "Oh, I'm not going to send it." Or that fight, and now that Billy's with Callum, with Eddie, he's like, that fight needs marination. So they all do that, and Eddie can't be fucking pointing fingers at other people when he's doing it himself. He's not.
No,
making
absolutely.
Callum versus Billy. He just told you last week that fight needs marination. What marination does that fight need? I mean, Billy and Callum aren't about to become bigger stars. I don't think so. Well, he hasn't done much for Callum in 4 years.
But your logic is that Tank offered $2 million for a guy to go from DAZN to fight on a PBC station, right? And that means that Farmer doesn't want the fight. They offered Tank $5 million to come fight on DAZN. Actually, it would have been more than $5 million. Eddie said they would have offered more than $5 million.
They said it's $5 million, but Eddie lies and inflates numbers. We know that he inflates numbers always, and he deflates PBC numbers. Like he'll be
okay,
like, "Oh,
so the
Mike,
$2 million was
sold-"
inflated. Heyman lies all the time, and they
But no,
inflate
listen.
numbers.
Tank sold 15,000 tickets. I'm guessing he's making.
And what was
around
the
2 million,
viewership?
something like that.
What was the
What'd you say?
viewership? What was the viewership?
4 something.
Viewership was like 500,000, I think.
No, it was 4 something. It was 4 something.
Four something.
It was like
Massive.
486, right? 486.
Yeah,
Massive
like that.
audience.
It was good. It was decent.
I rounded it out. Okay, listen. So that's like 100,000 and change less than Canelo versus Jacobs on DAZN. They were probably going to put this fight on Fox. That fight does like 2 million easy on Fox. Easy. Even more if they promote it right. I mean, so I don't understand why anybody would want this fight to go to DAZN. Isn't the goal to have more eyeballs on our fucking sport? I mean, the sport was almost dead on Showtime and Box and HBO. Heyman had to fucking revive it with $600 million worth of fucking capital from hedge funds. And now we want the fucking sport to go back to even a smaller channel than HBO. I don't get the logic.
I'll say this. I don't really care where fights are on. Like, I don't care what network.
As long as they're made.
I just care if they get made. Because if great fights get made, then people will go find them.
Yep.
Like, yeah, like DAZN was a...
hold
on, let me finish my point. If DAZN's a completely new company, it has a very low subscriber base. We all know that. But still, 600,000 people in America went and found that app and saw it live on that app. That's decent. That's a really good number for an app that no one knows, no one really knows the name of. Okay, so big fights, no matter the network, bring attention, bring eyeballs. And I would say even sort of in retrospect, AJ Ruiz was sort of like that in a way. Like the attention it got post-fight, obviously far bigger than the attention it got live on DAZN itself. But, I mean, that it's clear that big fights and, big moments transcend the app, so to speak. Same with ESPN Plus in a way, right? Like there's a lot of big moments on UFC cards, on not necessarily top-ranked cards this year, but maybe last year, that were on ESPN Plus, but they then got pushed on all the ESPN Car Wash, the ESPN Circuit, and it still gains traction. So I understand your point that, hey, these streaming services are automatically really small bases of subscribers, so that means less eyeballs on it. I get your point. But good fights and big fights, they will get seen by people no matter what, in my opinion. Especially if you push them right.
Also, I was going to say, the Tank's offer is like 4 times bigger than Farmer's biggest paycheck. I don't think Farmer Tank's offer was the offer Eddie made was 4 times bigger than Tank's ever made. Also, another thing.
Cool.
You said Gary Russell
Cool.
has no
Hey,
Listen,
look, look. I don't want to argue Farmer Davis because I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't want to argue Farmer Davis. I don't care about that at this point.
But wasn't that the same narrative for Wilder and Joshua? Wasn't that the same narrative for Wilder and Joshua?
At which time, Phil? You have to be more specific.
AJ told Coogan Cassius, just send me $50 million. I'm ready to go. Then when fucking
and then they didn't follow through with the meeting. That's an old narrative. They didn't even offer to meet with Eddie Hearn.
No, but I'm saying
they just wanted him to say yes to an offer that was just like through an email from a boxer. Dude, it's silly because you're using the same arguments against the DAZN fighter that you guys didn't like when Wilder got those arguments.
Can I finish my point?
Well, you guys can't talk at the same time.
He said, AJ said, give me 50, I'll fight. Then he says, oh, I don't fight in America. I have built something here. Now I don't want to fight in America. Then 3 months later, he's fighting in America against a fucking Heyman guy. Gets knocked out. That's what you call karma right there.
Look, hold on.
That was fucking beautiful.
Look.
That was beautiful.
Clearly.
You duck Wilder and you get knocked out by another Heyman guy. That was fucking perfect.
Heyman,
that's what you get.
Heyman TV.
I mean,
Heyman TV. Look, you do understand, like, but then I can come back and go, hey, all of you guys said that PBC was going to take over the UK with the ITV deal. What the fuck happened with that?
I never said that. I don't think anybody said it was going to take it over. They said it was going to provide competition to Eddie. They were probably wrong, and they are wrong. So, you know.
But come on. PBC Twitter was not saying that, oh, it's going to fail. You guys were all saying, oh, you guys are going to compete with Eddie. You guys said that. You guys said that, now PBC is going to compete with Eddie in the UK.
That's banter, bro.
But no. Look, let me finish.
Banter, but then when Americans have banter,
look, I'm going to bring it back, but I just want to finish my point. I'll bring it back just so we don't have to talk over each other. It's really easy this way. If you are dogmatic and an ideologue in your approach to boxing, which you are a PBC fanboy, you literally are had Heyman TBE and Heyman World as your Twitter accounts. Like, that's what you are, okay? If you aren't consistent in your ideologue and dogmatic approach, then all you are is a biased fanboy, in my opinion. So, like, yeah, you're going to bring up certain cases that I agree with and certain ones that I don't agree with. Why? Because you're biased and you're not consistent with your analysis of the sport. Clearly. Now, why do we have to continue this call? What other points do you have to bring up? Because I really don't want to get into this whole Farmer, Davis, PBC, Eddie, because like you're a PBC fanboy, man. Like you're not valid in this discussion. You're not an honest person in this debate.
I'm a fanboy, but I haven't lied about anything. Like, I'm not making things up. I'm just.
But you're not consistent. You're not consistent. That's what I'm saying. You're clearly not consistent in your commentary, bro.
I never said ITV was going to take over UK boxing. Some people probably did. I don't know. If you want to post the links, I'd appreciate it. I'd like to see that. But you guys, somebody was saying, one of you, either you or Matt.
Well, we can't check your account because they've been deleted, unfortunately.
Okay, 1 second. You guys said Gary Russell has no fan base. If you want to Google how many tickets Gary Russell's last fight sold, and then you want to Google Leo's last fight, Gary has a bigger fan base in Maryland than Leo's last fight showed up, okay? Leo Santa Cruz sold like 1,200 tickets, and they had to give away like 2,000 free tickets.
But bro, Jose Ramirez can sell out 15,000 seats in Fresno. That doesn't mean he's a gigantic superstar, bro.
Yeah, but you just said Gary has no fan base. That guy sells 4,000 tickets in Maryland always. That guy was paid $1.4 million plus the gate. So obviously he's got some fans. You know, that was his purse, $1.4 million plus gate. Leo didn't get that. Leo got $1 million flat. So I'm just saying, you know, before we say these things, you got to be 100% factual. Gary has fans in that DMV area. He's got fans. They're not like 10,000 fans. They're like 4,000 fans showing up to a show. Like, you know, that's not bad. I mean, there's some fan bases. That's like a farmer fan base,
okay, but see, this is why I don't respect you in this conversation, because clearly the context of what I was saying was compared to the hate that Gary has, Gary doesn't have a fan base to battle that respective to like people like Joshua.
90 seconds.
Joshua has a ton of hate, but he has a ton of fans, so it counterbalances it.
Yeah, but like,
that's the context of what I'm talking about.
Arena, man,
and hold on, again, you're talking over me, bro. I clearly wasn't done talking. Okay, I clearly wasn't done talking. You started talking. Please don't do that. Okay? I don't have to keep letting you call in. I don't have to. I'm not entitled. You're not entitled to a call, bro. Okay, this isn't one of those shows. Okay. Are you going to ignore the context of what I was bringing up purely to make a dogmatic and ideologue, point? Because if that's all you're going to bring up, again, you're just talking about things like Gervonta Davis, Tevin Farmer. That's all you're talking about still, bro. We have Spence Porter. You haven't talked about Spence Porter once on this call. You're talking about Tevin Farmer, Gervonta Davis.
I just heard you guys argue about Gary, so I thought I'd bring it up. But I was going to say, if you look at Gary's last fight, most of the crowd is like older crowd. It's not young kids in the crowd, so that's probably also another reason why his fans don't have Twitter armies and shit. You know, so he's got an older crowd. He's got older fans. That's all. Tank's got the young fans. If you look at his arena, it was like mostly 20 to 30-year-olds. So Gary had like older people sitting.
You want to talk about Spence Porter? You want to talk about Spence Porter?
Yeah, I think that's a great card. Can you read? Do you know the lineup of the whole card? Like, I think I heard there's 15 fights on there. You didn't read all the fights.
No, I'm not going to read. I'm not going to read all those.
10 seconds.
All right, I was just wondering if you did.
No, I didn't read the whole lineup. But
does anybody else do that? Because I've heard no promoter has that many fights, Matt. Is that true? Because I've heard like Top Rank, they don't have that kind of these many fights on a card. Is that true?
That's probably a good thing.
The only ones that do that, like 15 fights.
Probably a good thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing.
They don't show the whole card though, so there's like it's not like a bragging rights thing.
Yeah,
let me read it quick.
If you're buying a ticket, isn't that good though? It's a good value for the ticket. If you're buying a ticket, you're sitting there for like 4 hours.
Look, I'll be honest, bro. I don't want to sit through a 15 card live. You know how long that
Yeah.
is? You know how long that is, bro? Like, I don't want to do that.
Some people might.
Nah, like the UFC does 12 fight cards on average, right? Those are long, bro.
Yeah.
That's an 8-hour day just sitting there watching fights. That's a work day, bro. No, like
That Mexico
Hey, real
crowd
quick,
went
guys,
off,
I
man.
don't mean to cut
That
anyone off.
Mexico crowd was savage.
I do have to get my son somewhere. I
Oh.
love being on the show. Jason, great call. Thanks for calling me on my bullshit about the contract with Farmer. Yeah, but hey, end of the day, we're all here for boxing. I'll talk to you guys later.
Soon, man.
bye, Fu. Follow Fu at Fugatti MCR all platforms. See you, Fu.
I was trying
Also, what do you guys think about Eubank? I heard Eubank might be coming to America soon. He might have a fight in 2020 in America. What do you think about that?
Why is
him
him a fight? Why is him a fight in 2019, man? Like,
I think
what's
he's
Eubank
gonna
doing?
be on-
I said, why does he have a fight in
I don't
2019? Like, he's not doing anything. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
I think-
but man, people never mention PBC has so many stars. Some of them have to get lost in the shuffle, just like in UFC. Guys like Nate and Khabib and Conor, they have all like one fight a year. I mean, that happens to. I mean, PBC has the biggest roster, so it has to happen. I mean, we got to be understanding about that. Some guys are
But
going to get
there
one fight a
was
year. Like,
literally
Go
a
ahead.
UK deal, a TV deal to give him fights. That literally was
Something
made.
probably happened there. Who knows? Something happened there.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I've got a feeling he's going to be. I thought he said he's going to be out November, December this year, and I got a feeling he might be on Wilder Ortiz undercard. I don't know why I think that. I just did.
And Tim Smith said that announcement's coming soon, and he also mentioned in the interview that Lubin was coming, and that Lubin announcement just came. So hopefully that's the announcement's coming on the Porter Spence pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But hasn't Showtime also announced a Fox pay-per-view before? Like they gave it some shine. So who knows? Maybe they could give some shine to a Showtime pay-per-view. You never know, right?
Maybe, but
promotion before.
I guess the guys in the know seem to think the fact it's being announced on Fox lends itself to being a Fox pay-per-view. I don't know, but I think we're going to hear that. I think Wilder basically confirmed that was going to happen. It's going to be announced on Spence.
But Rob, they also said that if this fight goes to Fox, that Showtime's deal is dead. But they just announced Terrell Joshua and Easter versus Granado, so it's not like I don't think it's
Yeah, but that's
if
but,
you don't give us this, you're not.
It's the
Go ahead.
but again, they have an obligation with their current deal that they still have to fulfill. You know what I mean? They can't just terminate the deal like that.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
think they
mean?
pulled the plug instantly, and that's it.
But yeah, let me make this last point, and I'm out of here.
All right.
Robert, Matt, I don't think fucking Wilder versus Ortiz fucking pay-per-view is gonna bring Showtime that much money anyway. I don't think they're losing that much. If you really think about it, without being biased, you tell me I'm really biased. If you think about it, they could probably save that money for a couple of better events if they want to for early next year in the first quarter. They're not going to bringing in a lot of money from this pay-per-view, right? If they're going to sell 250 pay-per-view, how much money is going to Showtime make? Like what, $2 million? $1 million?
I don't think it's necessarily. I think you're potentially right about like the revenue, right? Like I think you're probably right about just the pure like ins and outs of just revenue coming in and out. However, I don't think it's purely about that. Wilder's a loss leader, like Canelo for DAZN, right? You're not making money back on any of these fights for Canelo with DAZN, but he's a loss leader, so you're going to keep him around. Just because he gives you credibility, attention throughout all the media that's not on your own individual brand, but just attention overall. And again, credibility. Wilder not fighting on Showtime would automatically mean something for a lot of fans' minds. I think Showtime recognizes that. I think Showtime is very aware. And plus, Espinoza's one of the few guys, one of the few TV execs that is really active on social media. That means he sees a lot of it as well. He sees a lot of the shit that's been talked about Showtime.
Lately, he's gone silent about boxing, I've noticed. He's kind of not touching boxing. Also, another thing I noticed, Showtime Extreme, for the last 4 years, literally every fucking day, they've been replaying PBC replays. The past week, all of a sudden, they stopped showing PBC replays, and they went all week to their old content of MMA. You know, what was Strikeforce?
Strikeforce.
Old classic fights like Timothy Bradley versus, what was that guy? Some other guy. But they just stopped showing PBC fights on Showtime Extreme like every day at 10 p.m. they used to. For the past 4 years, I've been seeing them. Every day I just look at it, what they're playing, and this week, no PBC replay. So that kind of is a hint there, too. Maybe they're trying to go back to, who knows.
Yeah, I've talked about the whole
MMA
Viacom, the Viacom-CBS merger. But digressing to the point, just to wrap up, I do think that even though they may not make a lot of money off of Wilder Ortiz pay-per-view, that doesn't really matter, I think, in their minds. It's about credibility.
It's like a prestige thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pride. It's a prestige thing. Wilder is honestly, the top 5 U.S. draw in the sport. Even though you're not making a lot of money in the top end, you're still making money. And on top of that, you get the prestige. And I think if they lost that would hurt them drastically. Thank you for the call, Jason. Really appreciate it, man. We just have to move on. Rob, I heard a deep breath. I don't know.
No, it's just breathing for him. Fuck, he talks as fast as he types. I love it. Thanks for calling in, man. It's good to.
It was a good call. Yes.
Yeah.
And plus, anytime I have somebody else call in to argue with anyone else but me, I appreciate it. So call in and argue with Rob and Fu more. I love it. 951. Who is this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Johnny.
What's up, Johnny?
Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to be like checkmate.
What was that?
Nothing.
No, I thought you were going to be checkmate boxing or something. Another
PBC
series.
Twitter guy.
Nah, you're good. Crack on, man.
No, that's cool. So what do you guys think about the Angulo Quillen fight?
I didn't watch that. I didn't watch that fight. I watched the rest of the card, unfortunately. But I heard it was a good fight, so I definitely want to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I liked it, but it's just
no?
two old sort of guys coming to the end of things. You know, it was what it was. But yeah, I think Quillen's. I think it's time to hang him up now. I think he's finished. It doesn't look like the passion's there anymore.
Yeah, he. It didn't look like the heart was there. Like I don't know. Just I stacked on the card. It looked like everyone was in favor of Quillen to beat him, but I don't think anyone was picking Angulo to do that.
No,
I think Quillen was like a minus 2,000 or something. The betting was crazy. This was an upset.
Yeah. I thought it was a good card. There was a lot of knockouts. So.
Agreed.
And then you guys were talking about DAZN. I think DAZN in the U.S. and the States over here, I think it's not huge, but I think they planted their foot in the water. There's people that they don't know how to pronounce it. They just say, "What's that app?" But people have heard about it by now. So I think they're doing all right for being young.
Agreed. Thoughts on?
And then also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with DAZN like in the other countries, but if you use a VPN and change it to Canada, they have a ton of sports. They have the whole NFL ticket over there.
Mm-hmm.
They got NBA games, MLB games. They have a ton of rights in Canada.
Yep, and also like in Japan, Germany, those are some of their major markets.
Yeah. So I think they're trying to do this for the long run. Like they're gonna wait for those streaming rights to be up for auction. So I think they're gonna make some big investments on that.
Yeah, apparently want to be in 20 territories by the end of next year.
The only problem is that U.S. is already their leading revenue region. Like in terms of app revenue,
yeah,
the U.S. with already only 1 or 2 million subscribers right now, it is making them $10 million half a year. While like regions like Japan and Germany, while they are bigger markets for them in terms of what content they have, they don't generate the revenue off of the apps the same way they do in the U.S. Just curious long term what that is. I don't have a real point about that. Just pointing that out mainly.
Yeah. And then just last one real quick. Spence Porter. What do you guys see? The numbers and views or buys. How do you guys see that playing out?
About 250 to 300,000.
Okay. You think winner of this, if it's a knockout, is becoming like, I'm not gonna say a household name, but they're gonna be up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spence already is one of the more well-known names in the U.S. market for boxing. To be honest, like when I talk to other sporting fans, like people that watch NFL, NBA, MLB, stuff like that, or even like pure MMA fans, right? They know who Spence is. They know vaguely of him.
Yeah.
So I think he's on that way more so than a lot of other guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Like when he fought Garcia, he called Manny Pacquiao to stand there next to him. I don't know if he really thought he was going to get that fight or not, but just to have him there in the ring talking to him, like, that's good for him, because on, like, searches and YouTube searches, you're going to see that clip, you know? You're going to say, who's that guy next to Pacquiao?
Thank you for the call.
Yeah.
We're going to go out to Santiago in LA, then we'll go to Gary in Dallas. Santiago in LA, what up?
Not much. Just out here driving, currently waiting and listening in for this week's fight, which I will be catching in theaters for $20 instead of $75. Anybody who's theater maybe showing the fight might consider that if they want to save some money.
Lucky you.
Are you credentialed for that fight?
Nah, I didn't get credentialed. Sad face.
If you're not doing anything,
Oh,
if you're not doing anything by chance, dude, I got a spare ticket.
nah, you know me. I got to work still. I still got to do a live fight chat. I got to do something. That's a big fight.
All right, then. Well, you know what? I'm excited for it, and it is interesting that it's an interesting sense when I use the word clash of styles just because of the kind of styles both guys bring to them. One, as you've pointed out, is high-level basic, like right down to the jab, while the other guy's very unorthodox and physical. So I wonder whether or not simplicity might be key in this one, because in Porter's last two fights, he seems to be trying to change it up a bit and be a little bit more on the foot, but whether or not it's been as effective as he might think, I don't know if that might actually play into Spence's strengths, because I think once Spence gets his rhythm going, it's going to become his fight to lose. I feel that the level that he has his basics polished are going to be what serves him well in this fight against the guy who is, for all intents and purposes, going to probably be coming to him. Your thoughts on that?
I agree almost entirely with your assessment of the fight, Santiago. I'm not surprised there, but yeah, I agree with it. I think you have a very accurate sort of analysis on the, like you said, style clash of the two.
Yeah. What about you, Rob? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Porter's really going to make Spence have to really work for this. I think, and but I ultimately think Spence's accuracy might be the difference in this, and eventually maybe slow Porter down a little. I know he's always been, he's usually pretty well conditioned and he's got a good tank and everything and can keep that pressure on. But I think the accuracy of Spence will sort of blunt that forward aggression. But I do see Porter winning rounds through that pressure, maybe more early on. And then Spence will start, I think, settling into his work and making the difference and turning the fight around.
Yeah. Now, is it fair to say that both guys are known for being physically strong and physically active fighters?
Absolutely.
And if so, who do you guys think is the physically stronger man in this matchup?
I think it has to be Spence, right? Not only, I think, could he match him in just pure like muscle mass, but he's bigger, has a longer reach, bigger wingspan, so to speak, so that's going to give him more leverage in the clinch. I think, like, I've been with both guys in camp, right? Spence is a different animal. Like, that guy is a machine. I've never seen anyone work the way he does, to be honest. Like, I know he kind of balloons up in between fights, but, like, I've seen him, I've seen Keith Thurman, I've seen Sean Porter. I've seen those three guys all deep in camp training, and Spence is the hardest worker, by far. He does the most reps, doesn't take breaks, doesn't drink water. He runs through this shit. And to Rob's point, his accuracy, his placement of shots is so perfect. Like, I think that, yeah, he'll be able to, on top of maybe out-muscling Porter, he's going to be able to catch him in between shots far more than Porter is, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out once it's all said and done. Definitely look forward to seeing this on the big screen. And it's probably the only fight where I'm not as split compared to, like, the co-main event because, like you said, it's going to be a fun destruction. Anthony Durrell, I thought, lost his last fight against Idril, and we can all say that guy is nowhere near the caliber of fighter that Benavidez is, even if Benavidez is barely coming back right now. I think Benavidez is going to do his thing, maybe have a little fun in there, knock him out within maybe 6 rounds, and reclaim a belt that's rightfully his. It's going to be interesting. And Quillen, I think is done at this point, man. Like, honestly, like I kind of had everything just playing in the background. It was more or less just a very slow weekend of fighting. I paid more attention to the Showbox card than I did this one. And I didn't expect Angulo to have the kind of success he did against Quillen. I mean, the first round, Quillen looked like I expected him to look, but you know, it's starking too when you see that one guy is clearly slower than the other guy, and it's not even a factor at that point. He was having such success. I had him winning 7 rounds to 3 when the fight was over, and kudos to him. You know, if Angulo at all decides to have a big fight, at least he gets to go out on a high note. As for Quillen, even though he's only had 2 losses, I really do think that Jacob's fight took a lot more out of him than I think most of us realize. Because, man, he looked like an old man in that fight. You give me your take once you've looked over that fight.
I will say this though, Quillen has looked old ever since that Jacobs fight. He had the off-TV fight. We saw that one clip of. He looked trash in it. Yeah, the other fight, I forget where it was at, who was against, but he looked trash in that fight. Like, he has not looked good since. And maybe it's just a mental side of it. I don't think he's been dedicated to the sport since then. I don't think he's really trained since then. I don't think he's committed himself back to boxing in any way. It's just unfortunate. It's sad.
It's not a laughing matter. Man. It's a joke. It's something that's really serious.
For sure, Bob. And, you know, we can only see what goes on for him at this point. You know, he's got a good record. You know, if he calls it quits, he was WO middleweight champion for a while. Never lost the belt in the ring. Granted, he didn't exactly fight like a who's of fighters defending that belt. But you know, we met him. He's a cool guy, and I don't want him to be that guy that we talk about years down the road that is having mental anguish or anything like that from a result of fighting too long.
Agreed.
And that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all I got to say at this point. If you guys have anything specific you want to ask me regarding any of the topics of today's show, feel free to shoot. Otherwise, that's my call. Everybody that's been listening in, tune in. You know, they do daily shows. Hit that like button, subscribe. Patreon.com/Combat Radio. They got a Facebook too, Twitter, and guys, you guys have yourself a good afternoon.
Thank you for the amazing call, as always, Santiago. Our last caller of the day.
Drive by.
Don't do that here on this show ever again. You will be fired. Gary in Dallas. Gary, my executive producer here telling me that you have to hurry up. Fuck that. You go as long as you want, Gary. You go as long as you want. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go extra slow, right? When I was a trainee,
I'm just gonna go.
Right before I ever even sold the stock, the first thing they told you was the faster they go, the slower you go. The more they try to rush you off the phone, the slower you go. You control the tempo of the conversation, not them.
Gary,
So
you know, I
I'm
can
gonna
just
go
press the button right here, leave studio. I could just do that right now.
He could just leave. That's true. Bye, Rob.
See ya. No, really, I'm going to have to go.
Bye, Rob.
See you later. Have a good call, Gary. Don't you two argue
Who
now.
already left? Rob, you're sticking around, pal. You're not going anywhere.
Sticking around, pal.
Pal. Listen, buddy.
Hold on. Rob, where do you have to go? This is earlier for you.
Yeah, but because of that, things were sort of mentioned.
An hour early. I looked at my phone because you usually get the heads up, the notification 30 minutes before you go live.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were already, half hour into the show. Like, what's going on here?
Didn't you click the notifications bell, Gary?
Yeah, I did, and I got the notification. I just didn't look at it until 3:30 my time. So that's 1:30, whatever Matt's time.
Yeah.
And you guys are already.
It's now nearly 11:30, so I'm going.
Bye, Rob.
Bye.
Find him at UK Rob MCR. It's just me, guys.
Wait.
No, he left. I'm sorry.
I wanted to talk about Sam Eglinton, and now I have no one to talk about Sam Eglinton with. Like, you really care about Sam Eglinton.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay.
Good point.
First, and Rob would have appreciated this too. Chris Colbert, Little B-Hop.
Yes.
He looks sensational.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
And
he's one of those guys where
Rob's never heard of
Rob has. I mean, the Netflix documentary.
Miguel Beltran Jr. Okay.
Yeah. However, Gary, I gotta ask you this because I floated this idea out there on social media and I got some positive feedback on it. So I think people mainly agree with this, but I want to get your take on it because you're a deep hardcore fan of the sport. It feels like Chris Colbert went from one of the hottest prospects in the game to someone that people really don't talk about. And A, is that true in your opinion? And B, why do you think that is, if that's the case?
Yeah, I was going to say that. And I looked at him and I was like, well, has he been inactive? And he really hasn't been inactive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know really why he fell out of public favor.
But it's not really, I wouldn't even say it's public favor, just public spotlight, I should say.
It's not public spotlight. Yeah, I don't know why. He's never looked bad. He's never had a performance where you're like, ooh, right? Like our kid, White Chocolate, everyone loves. His last performance on the hooker card was kind of like, ew, that's a step back. B-Hop's never had a fight like that. Like, he's looked good and then better in all of his fights. Go back 2 years ago, he was a big deal. He had a really good amateur career. He came on. He's got the personality. He's a New Yorker too, right? He's from New York.
Yep.
So he's going to have a natural market. I don't know why, but no, you do seem to be right about that.
Because he was on a fucking Netflix documentary, for God's sake, man. Like, he looked
really. He's really good, isn't he?
I would say this. There was clearly a time, and it was a short window, but there was a time when he was a bigger name amongst boxing, fans or experts than Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez for sure. He's kind of burst on the scene kind of late. Even like the UK guys like Josh Kelly, Joe Cordina, Daniel Dubois, like all of those guys. Like there was a time that Chris Colbert was the number one prospect in the sport coming from the amateur scene. And now it feels like he is on undercards on FS1 shows all the time, and no one's paying attention to him. And sad.
I think, and I don't know, you'll have to tell me the number on yesterday's show, on Saturday night's show. Mm-hmm. But he looks good. I think that will kind of re-solidify himself as one of the guys. There's going to be so much natural comparison between him and Shakur Stevenson, both being from the same part of the country, being about the same age, being about the same weight. There's going to be a natural rivalry between those two guys.
I will add this, though. Devin Haney, for sure, because they're in the same weight class.
So I wanted to ask you that. So he just fought out 132 again. Is he going to be at 130 or 135?
I mean, technically speaking, these are lightweight fights. So he's a lightweight right now.
Yeah, I know. Because that's a good fighter he just fought. And Beltran, I know he had won those fights, but it was it Rocky Martinez or Mikey Rahman that everyone thought he won, but he got shafted in the decision?
I think it was Rahman.
But he almost.
I think it was Rahman Martinez.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, he was within a whisker of being a world champion. I know that was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But he's only 30. Doesn't it feel like that guy should be like 38?
Yeah, the guy feels like he's as old as Angulo.
Yeah, right. How old is this guy? He's 30. So he's not even that. I mean, his best days are behind him. But if nothing else, that should have been a durable guy who lasted and went rounds. And Colbert blew him out.
Agreed.
Do you know that Brandon Figueroa beat Chris Colbert in the amateurs?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you did know that?
I did know that.
How did you know that?
I think we talked about it before. I want to say, Gary. I think you brought that. I think you brought that up before, to be honest.
Maybe.
Not
Every time we talk about how good Chris Colbert looks, I'm going to bring up the fact that Brandon Figueroa beat him in the amateur.
you can definitely do that. And I will say, hey, that was a 3-round fight, bro. And back then, they were using headgear.
Yeah, they were. They were using headgear.
Because now most amateur fights don't have headgear.
Not in the Olympics anymore. So not in the qualifying rounds of the Olympics either, I would guess. I would think.
It's world,
I don't know about
like
that.
world amateurs. Those are all non-headgear. Those are all Olympic regulation.
Okay.
It's only like, let's say, like Golden Gloves. That's all headgear still.
Yeah.
That's headgear still.
Okay. I thought the headgear, the no headgear was an AIBA rule, but it's not. It's just well, who sanctions international boxing now?
Well, technically, it's still the AIBA.
It is.
The amateur world championships that just happened, that was the AIBA. Remember, we just talked about that pro knocking out the U.S. amateur.
Right. Only in this sport. Other sports have corruption too, but it's usually money. Like we have the guy that played for the Nuggets and the Knicks, Moutier.
Yeah.
It was rumored that he took a lot of money starting his sophomore year of high school. He went to this prep school in Dallas. It was rumored that it's that kind of corruption. No one ever accused him of playing with an NBA player. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why is the level of corruption and the type? I understand it's corruption in all sports. Well, why in our sport is it this grotesque? Where you have professional men fighting children? Like
there's less regulation.
You know?
There's less regulation purely. That's why.
Yeah.
Because think about the marriage of basically the federal government and the NCAA for college sports.
Right.
Look, there's a lot of issues with the NCAA, but there's a lot of regulation they have for fighter health. Not fighter health. I mean athlete health, I should say, not fighter health.
Athlete health.
And same with like the NFL and the fighter union. Not fighter union. I keep saying fighter shit, but athlete union and the NBA. Like they're just far more regulation, far more control that these athletes have in these other sports. And in boxing and MMA, it's largely, especially worldwide, unregulated. There isn't really a strong apparatus to make fights worldwide, and if there are apparatuses, they're pretty regional speaking. I mean, look at PBC, Top Rank. Look at all these U.S. promoters. How often do they go worldwide? Not that often. It's just a smaller game in a sense. It's less money, less regulation. So I think that's why it is the quote corruption that you see is far more evident in boxing and far more grotesque, as you said.
And the other thing I wanted to get into was Barrios.
Yes, of course.
The guy he's fighting, the Russian guy, he's got two names, kind of like Rungvisai. He's got, I'm not even interested. But if you look it up, if you look at his box work, he's got an alias. If you YouTube his alias, it brings up a lot of his fights. Have you gotten the chance to? I'm not even gonna try to say his name. I think one of his names is Akhmadov, and the other's name is like Marchek or something. Okay, Godchek, something like that.
Yep.
Have you watched him?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think of him?
I think he's good. I don't think he's going to be a world champion any day, but he's a good fighter. Yeah, it should be a good test for Mario.
I think so too. I think it's one of those fights where it's just win the fight. Like you're not going to look good in the fight because that guy,
Agreed. He's
a southpaw. He comes in from weird angles. Those really good combinations. He's short. I think it's one of those things. Just win the fight. Like don't worry about looking good. Don't worry about getting a spectacular knockout. Just make sure you win the fight. And then on to the next. Because that's a guy I don't really think anyone is going to look good against. Although, he's probably not a world beater either.
Agreed.
And I don't know if Santiago would have this, if anyone would have this stat, it would probably be him. Has there ever been a brother-sister combination who have held world titles at the same time?
Hold on. I'll go to Santiago right now. Santiago, hopefully you just heard Gary's question. Do you know the answer? Santiago?
Yes.
Actually, I think
there might have been a brother-sister combination that became world champions. I don't know if it was at the same time. I'll have to do more research. Gary, I'll get back to you on Facebook later with an answer.
All right, awesome.
There you go, Gary.
Awesome. Because I always thought Selena would get to a world title first, but it looks like Mario is.
Really? I mean, I've never thought she was that good, to be honest.
What was that?
You mean Mario Barrios' sister?
You don't think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never got like, ooh, wow, she's gonna be the next big thing. I've never gotten that at all. And to be honest, it's sort of the same with Barrios. Like, I don't see Barrios being the next big thing. I see him being the next perennial top 10, 15 guy, which is really good, but I don't see him being the next big thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Mario Barrios ever wins a championship at 140 or 147.
Likely, I'd like to see him fight. Win, lose, or draw. I'd like to see him fight Josh Taylor next, because I think that's a really good fight. Not that would be made for promotional reasons, but I just think that would be a really good fight. Whatever Taylor does against Prograis, I think that would be a really good matchup. If he fought, let's say, somebody like Baranchik, do you think he could beat someone like that?
Yeah, perhaps, yeah.
What about Hooker? I know Hooker went to 47, but let's say Hooker stayed at 40. Do you think Hooker would be too much?
Right now, I would pick Hooker, yeah.
I probably would too. Although I think Barrios is good. I don't know what makes him kind of the issues that you have with Tanahara. I kind of have those same reservations about Barrios.
I didn't want to bring up that comparison, but I think they're really good comparisons. The only difference is Barrios, I think, respective to his weight class, he is tall and rangy. Tanahara, while lanky, isn't really, respective to his weight class, a super tall and lanky guy. You know what I mean?
No, it's not.
And yeah. I think both guys are a level of basic in terms of what they do and what they want to achieve and how they achieve it in the ring. Barrios is far easier in terms of trying to achieve that because he's taller and rangier than everyone else he's fighting. So that's going to get him to beat and outbox a lot of guys that he would maybe struggle with if he was smaller than. Tanahara does not have that luxury at all. I think that's a really good comparison, to be honest, though. I think Tanahara is like a Mario Barrios. Absolutely.
So, and I wanted to address something Fu said, but Fu's gone too. And Fu said earlier that, well, first off, I wanted to get into the zone thing, right? The zone saying they're not going to pay the absurd amount of money. And you're right? That's going to cause the other promotional companies to say, well, we don't have to pay that much either.
Yep.
Right? And it will bring down the purses just naturally.
It has to. Yeah.
Because that's what bubbles do. They burst. So you either get out of it early, like the zone is trying to do, but the zone artificial. I mean,
but hold on, hold on. I make a distinction here. This bubble is not bursting because of this. The bubble, if the bubble was bursting, what we would see is these networks pull out of the deals because they're losing so much money. That would be the bubble bursting. It would be like an economic recession. It would have to look like that.
Right.
So you would have to see a recession of corporations when it comes to the sport. This is not that. To me, this is I think you were about to say, an artificial way of trying to shrink the bubble before there's any sort of long-term negative ramifications on overpaying fighters this drastically.
The other, CBS, Fox, the ESPN, ABC, Disney, whatever, if they lost all their money, if ESPN, Disney lost all the money they put in boxing, they wouldn't even know it was gone, right? I mean, no one wants to lose money, but they're going to, they would, but they're going to feel a lot less than the zone would.
Absolutely,
right? If the zone's losing money, they're going to feel a lot more. So they have to be more cautious, but they also really helped drive that bubble.
Absolutely.
We're talking about $5 million for Tank Davis, who now has to be kicking himself for not taking that fight, because he'll probably never get a $5 million payday again. It's also weird to me that the zone would come out and say that publicly, because they still want to bring fighters over there. And what's the biggest bargaining chip DAZN have? We'll pay you more than everybody else will. Now they don't have that anymore. So it's weird to me that they would say that publicly. Like, why would they release that statement?
I would assume that he was asked about it and he responded to a media member, not really thinking about it. To be honest, because it wasn't like it was a press release, right? It wasn't like it was a corporate, hey guys, we're no longer paying anymore the way we used to. It's more like, hey, he was asked a question and it was Mike Coppinger, and I think it was Mike Coppinger, and he's going to go on Twitter and talk about it, obviously. And I think Joe Markowski wasn't really thinking through, like, oh, this is going to be a negative publicity for us. Or to the very worst extent, like you say, maybe a sign to some of these free agents that are looking for deals, like a Mike Garcia, that maybe they shouldn't go with DAZN because maybe the budget is shrinking in a drastic way. Now, Lunatic is saying, potential Lunatic in the chat is saying, DAZN feel like they've spent enough for entry? I think it means entry into the marketplace. They're just in the next phase now, stabilizing. I think that's a corporate spin on what they're doing, to be quite honest. I think it was always planned at some point that they can't pay to this degree, obviously, but I think they really did not think through the economic bubble they created and the possible negative ramifications it could have. When Fox and PBC and ESPN and Top Rank are now all overpaying for people like Tyson Fury to fight Otto Wallin, are they now losing a lot of money? And are we now going to see an ESPN and a Fox pull out of deals in a year or two because they're just not making the money back because they spent way too much to try to compete with DAZN? And on top of that, like you said, DAZN doesn't have potentially maybe the wealth of funding that Disney has, or Fox has, and therefore they just might be run out of town because of this. Again, these are all possibilities and distinct ones that have a high chance of possibly happening. I'm not saying that it's probable at this point because I don't know yet. I need to see raw data to prove that. But it's clear that there is an economic bubble that DAZN is trying to artificially bring down. But if it doesn't, if it bursts, these networks will back out of boxing. Like they did circa, God, in the 70s probably, you can argue, when the advertisers started leaving. Sorry, Gary. Sorry to hijack your point.
Right. So I guess my question was, do you think the purses organically coming down, naturally coming down and correcting themselves, is good or bad for boxing? From a spectator standpoint. Do you think it'll... well, yeah, I'll leave it.
Okay, I have several thoughts. I don't know if I have a clear answer for you, to be honest, Gary, because it's a lot going through my head right now, and it's all new ideas being thought of, to be honest. One, I think, obviously for fighters, it's not good. Right? I know you specified spectators, but I'm going to just talk about boxing as a whole. For boxers, of course not. You're going to get less money for fights that for 2 years or so, you were used to getting X, now you're getting Y. And you're probably not going to like that. And on top of that, could that have a domino effect on making these fights for a short-term period? Because now fighters have to adjust to making lower amounts of money for fights. And does that mean they're not going to take these big fights anymore because the money's not the same and there's sort of that, not really boycott or sit-in, so to speak, but there's going to be that rift in tension between fighters and networks and promoters, naturally speaking, because their paycheck's going to change. Does that have ramifications on matchmaking for these big fights? Possibly. Does that negatively affect boxing? It could. Now, in terms of looking at the market and the industry as a whole, I think it's a positive overall that we bring down the purses somewhat. I'm not saying bring them down drastically, but there has to be a balancing act here because long term, I don't know if the sport makes money doing this. I don't. And that's an issue because like our good friend Jason, a.k.a. Heyman World, a.k.a. Heyman TBE, who called in earlier, it is talking about, if these fights go to streaming with low eyeballs, is that good for the sport? Are all these fighters now getting paid more what they probably are deserved, and on top of that, the sport making more money for these networks. Is that better for the sport? Absolutely. It has to be, you know? But I think it's going to be interesting long term to see how this plays out, because I do think you're going to have outliers. Like, you're going to have guys like Canelo always who get paid drastically because they are the giant money makers of the sport. But I do think it's overall, to sort of try to summarize my point, I think it would be good for the entire whole of boxing. But short term, it's going to be bad for some people. And it's going to cause some rift between fighters and networks and promoters. That's absolutely going to happen.
It will, but that was my original thought. Then I thought, so you get accustomed, whatever you're making, you get accustomed to making that, right? So if you're Tank Davis and you've been making $1 million plus to fight garbage, right, for the last 2 years, and now someone says, I'm only going to pay you $400,000 or $500,000 for that same fight. Now you look at Lomachenko, you look at Miguel Berchelt and say, I don't care. I'm not fighting for $400,000. I want $1.5 million. Well, the only way you get close to that is if you fight one of those guys. Now the pressure. Now, fine, make it. I was making $1.5 million to fight Hugo Boss and Amanda Nunes. I want to make $1.5 million. Well, the only way you're getting $1.5 million is if you fight other top-notch fighters, or anywhere near that $1.5 million number. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting for a fraction of that against these guys. Do you think it organically makes better fights and makes the other promotional companies work together
It
to
could,
make big money fights?
Or you could have fighters go, oh, fuck that. Like, you're trying to manipulate my purses. I know what I was making a year ago or 6 months ago. Screw that. I mean, these are two natural responses people could have, right? And I don't think it's a monolith in terms of how fighters are going to react to this change in the industry. But certain fighters are going to say, oh, well, fuck that. Like, you're not going to pay me as much as I was making, again, a fight or two ago. I'm not okay with that. You're going to have some that go, okay, I guess I'll just take these fights. Absolutely. So I think on a whole, it's hard to tell how fighters as a monolith are going to behave adjusting to this change. But absolutely, I think you're going to have some say, F this, and some say, okay, I'll take what I can.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and it should be where the sport is, right? I mean, it just got overinflated for a few years, and everyone was making absurd money. That's got to come back down to reality.
Now, Gary,
that's exactly what happened.
Gary, I do have to sort of move you along. Spence Porter prediction. I do have to head out here, man. I apologize. I have another show with another channel I have to start.
Okay, yeah, I'll make it real quick. Spence Porter, I see it like everyone else. I think it's competitive but one-sided, so to speak. Like I think Porter does good work, but Spence wins most of the rounds. I would say, I think it goes to the distance. I would say like 9-3 Spence, something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's competitive to a degree. I think Benavidez blows out. And I like Anthony Durrell. I'll be rooting for Anthony Durrell. Mm-hmm. But I think Benavidez is going to blow him out in 6-7 rounds.
Agreed. Thank you for the call, Gary.
Yep.
Okay, guys, we have to head out. I'm sorry. I have another show I have to attend on the Walkout Network with Anthony Walker. So that would be recording, I think, at 6 p.m. today and coming out, I think, tomorrow or Wednesday. So check out for that. If you want to check out the first show of that, it's on our YouTube feed. So just scroll down. You're going to see it. It's right there. But digressing, guys, find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Leave a comment down below with your prediction on Spence versus Porter. And on top of that, hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Go to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to help support the channel in any financial way. Have a great one. Peace.